Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another stream because Matt's not having a pub. So I thought, why not? We'll have a pub today. So yeah, I'm just going to promote this real quick while I'm thinking about it. Uh, s- oh, sorry if I don't see your comments right away. I'm promoting this on the social medias, if you will. Seems I didn't share my Alan Moore Superman video on the Cyberpunk uh Cyberpunk Discord. It's a little embarrassing. All right. Let's see. Hello, Tharnal. How you doing? Zach, how you doing? Hope everyone's doing well. Uh, let's see here. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, whoops. Not good. So again, sorry if you can't hear. Sorry if I'm not talking too much at the moment. Trying to share this around so people can watch. Hope everyone's doing well. I see Ida is here. Hello. Hello there. Little Capricious Fox. How you doing? We may have Raph coming in here in a little bit, but he's just, he's just doing some stuff. Sorry, I know I'm probably should have done this earlier, but I just got back from church, so hopefully you guys will give me some leeway here. Let me just get these out of the way, and we'll get to our. I should probably link this in my. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing all right. How you guys doing? What are you guys reading? What you guys doing? Joining. I mean, it really is an open invite. So if anyone wants to pop in here and hang out for a little bit, that's totally fine. I'm not won't be too hope everyone's doing well. So yeah. Yeah, it's usually Raph and I. We're kind of partners in crime at this point. We're often getting into shenanigans together. Oh no. There we go. So yeah, just say what everyone's been reading at the moment. Let's see. The Devils. I actually, funnily enough, just bought The Devils recently at my local bookshop. I don't know if it's gonna be any good. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, you know what? She sent me a link last week, so I'll send her one. I don't know if she's gonna join in because she's probably doing stuff. Hey John, how you doing? Hope everyone. Glad people are joining in because I was just kind of like, oh man, this is kind of random. Let's see here. Okay. Just love this spamming stuff here. There we go. But yeah, okay, got them all. Yeah. All right, so now my attention is fully on you guys. How is everyone doing this afternoon / evening / day, if you will? But yes, I did recently get The Devils at my local bookshop. Don't know when I'm going to read it. I'm hoping either August or September because really I don't have any like planned reads aside from in August and July are pretty free, except I'm reading Gardens of the Moon at the moment. And after I finish Gardens of the Moon, I'm going to start A Brief History of Seven Killings. So, yeah. Oh, oh man, Raph, we need to see the pecs, my friend. No, I'm kidding. Get a shirt. We're all good. But again, if anyone wants to join, because just DM me on Discord or Instagram or Twitter. I'm kind of afraid to say no. As long as you're not like naked or dressed provocatively, like I'm fine. If you're just like in like t-shirt and shorts, like that's fine. I mean, I'm just wearing my Sloppy Joe's t-shirt and these pajamas. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, pajamas. So there's not really a dress code, no. I mean, again, as long as you're not like, naked or something, I'm sure you'll be fine. But yeah. But yeah. So I'll put up the Devils for right now because I mean I'm sure you guys don't really care about the Devils. Well, some of you probably do. I'm kind of interested to see where I'll land because I've seen it's gotten a bit of a polarized response. Like I've had friends who really like it, and I have friends who don't like it very much. So yeah. Let me see. Fine. So yeah. I do like the sound of that. I do like werewolves. Tharnall knows me well. I'll just say that. All right. Here, I'm just gonna share this on Instagram real quick. Hello, Chadia. How you doing? Hope everyone's doing well. Zach, or ZK. I don't freaking know how to pronounce it. I mean, I don't know if anything's gonna be as good as the first law, but I've been wrong before. All right, let's. Mark's here. How you doing, Mark? I'm doing pretty good. I'm just hanging out here today. It's a pretty lazy Sunday afternoon, and I'm like, I'm gonna stream today because I must entertain the masses, if you know what I mean. Um, Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people liked my singing voice. So, yeah, I was just kind of like, "Oh, you know what June on the Range sounds like? It kind of sounds like Home on the Range." So I had to go with the bit. Um, The Sisters Brothers is a very good book. Ida, it is a video called June on the Range. Actually, you know what? I'll link it in the chat. So you guys, it's very brief. So just to let y'all know, it is very brief. But yeah, I do sing a little bit. I can do it anyway. Uh oh, there we go. Okay, you don't need to hear that. I generally don't like watching myself, so there we go. So if you guys want to watch me singing, there you go. Uh yeah, Sisters Brothers is a good book. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Um do I sing at church? I have before. I don't do it very often though. The church I go to now, not really, because they're kind of like a I don't want to say they're a mega they are kind of a mega church to be honest with you, but they're like a good mega church, if that makes sense. What the fuck is this? Snapchat's always recommending me weird shit. But yeah, so it's I do have videos of me singing longer songs. So maybe I'll share those one day, but not in any rush to. Anyway, so what am I reading? I bet you're wondering. Well, I'm sure many of the Malzahn fans are just going to be super excited because I'm reading Gardens of the Moon right now. I finished book 1, which is like part 1, I guess. So yeah, now I'm on to part 2. I'm probably going to start it later on this evening. Not really sure where to put it at the moment. It's interesting. It's an interesting book. I know interesting is kind of a non-word at this point, but makes me think of that scene in Captain Fantastic where they say interesting is a non-word. But I don't really know. I don't really know what to make of Gardens of the Moon at the moment. From 1 to 10, how confused are you? Yeah, I was at maybe like a 4 or 5. I was like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. And then like more characters start showing up, and I'm like, okay, we're at like a good 7. I'm not entirely sure what's happening here. But it's an interesting book though. I keep saying that. What do I mean by this? Clearly the world is very well thought out. I will say that. The world is very well thought out. I really like Erickson's tone when he doesn't, I'll get into that a little bit. I do think there are some tonal inconsistencies. Like, there's this kind of dark, foreboding atmosphere, and that like builds up, and then like randomly there will be like a weird like D&D-esque battle, which is kind of funny because I know that this was inspired by D&D. It was a D&D game they played, or a GURPS game. I'm sure there's going to be the real pedantic people who are like, it was GURPS. But yeah, I know this was based on a GURPS game, so that kind of checks out. It's oh, hello Mac, how you doing? I'm just kind of talking through my initial feelings about Gardens of the Moon. I do like how Erickson kind of commits to the fact that this is nothing like our world. Kind of reminds me of something that Ursula K. Le Guin said about, like, in fantasy, the language really matters. I think Erickson has a very good grasp on that. But yeah, I do have some problems with it so far. I do find there's some tonal inconsistencies. Like, again, there's almost this kind of dark foreboding kind of atmosphere. and that just kind of gets dampened a little bit when he's like, oh, look, random wizard battle. Not random, but it just kind of like, oh, wizard battle now. He's throwing shit. That guy's a puppet now. And you're just like, what is going on here? But yeah, so far it's it's a read, we'll say. I'm also reading I was kind of in a Star Wars kick for a little bit there, and I ended up picking up Star Wars: The High Republic, Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, because I thought this would be a pretty a good little a little oh what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of a palate cleanser, if you will. I like the I'm liking it so far. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Charles Soule's a good writer. I'm more familiar with his comic work than I am with his his prose work. I know he's written a couple of other novels. But I've liked this so far. I really like the characters in this. It does take a minute to get going because it starts out with this big like disaster thing, and it kind of shows all the perspectives of everyone involved. But once it kind of sits down and kind of gets moving, it's actually a pretty solid read for the most part. There's even some good humor in this book, so yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this quite a bit. So yeah, solid book. I'm quite enjoying this High Republic era because it's nice to see the Jedi in their prime. And also seeing the Republic actually do what it's supposed to do. So, that's always nice. Um, it's very good. I'm enjoying it a lot. There's some fun characters, some good humor as well. I always appreciate that. Tharnell asks, what Star Wars books have you read, Britton? I have read Dark Disciple, which was going to be a Clone Wars saga, but sadly they couldn't make it. So they ended up making it into a book. It was really good. I've read Darth Plagueis. I've read the Revan book, which was fine. I also read um I also read I've read some of the comics as well. Some of the Marvel comics, a lot of people kind of give it a hard time, and I'm sure that if Alex shows up here, yes, that is the one with Ventress. It's the one with her and Quinlan Voss. I really like the oh, what else am I? What else have I read? I've read Charles Soule's Darth Vader comics, which are really good, really really good. I've also read Kieran Gillen's Darth Vader comics, which are pretty good too. And I think, oh yeah, and the Thrawn trilogy. I've read the Thrawn trilogy, which is like some of the best Star Wars ever. That isn't like the original 3 movies or the Clone Wars. Like, it's really really good stuff. I love the Thrawn trilogy. It's really fantastic stuff. But anyway, moving on to other stuff I've read. I'm continuing on my reread of Descender. Reread / I'm going to finish this read since this is a serialized series. So yeah, Descender, another The Year of Lemire read for this month. I'm quite fond of the art in this. I mean, the art in this is, look at that. Look at that. It's outstanding. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Dustin Wynn, man. Lemire, man, he really knows how to pick good artists. That's all I got to say about that. So, yeah. Oh, I got a message in private chat. Raph, I see you, but it says device is not connected, so might need to connect your mic and cam before we can get to talking. And of course, going on this trend of stuff I'm planning to finish, Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan, and it's great. I love it. Can Brian K. Vaughan miss? I don't know. I don't think so. Cliff Chang's art, man, outstanding. Just hold on. Let me just show you some of these spreads. Let me just show you one of these spreads. Or here you go, right here. Really love the pacing in this art right here. Look at that right there. Fantastic stuff. Probably didn't really get a good glance at it. Where is a good? Let me see here. So, hold on. Where's the frickin' spread page? Damn. Can't find a good frickin' spread. Here's one where it's sideways. There you go, right there. I can't see shit. Fuck this. I'll show you guys later. But yeah, Paper Girls is awesome, by the way. If you're like kind of having a hangover from Saga, read Paper Girls. It's really good. It's really good stuff. You know, I was not paid by Brian K. Vaughan to say that. Let's see. Now in Gardens, if we're still talking about Malzahn, there is a guy who turns into a puppet. That's pretty weird. It's called Hairlock, I think. Like, I don't think the plot is that confusing. It's more like keeping track of all the characters is a bit confusing. So, you know. Speaking of Malzahn, I'm gonna bring on one of my Sherpas on this Malzahn journey that I'm on so far. Raph, how you doing, man?
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you. I can see you.
That is perfect. I can hear you. That is perfect.
All right, excellent.
Don't bother about all the characters because there's so fucking many. It's more like just like go with the flow for now.
Well, I'm trying to. It's a little hard sometimes because I'm like, what the
yeah, I know, but like,
yeah,
it's one of those things. Like with Malazan in particular, is that it's if you're used to reading like your standard fantasy where you can understand the world, where there's like, you know, where the world is finite, where there is like full world building, where there's a definite answer for every question about the world. Malazan is not that. And you go there and it's like, yeah, I don't know. And you ask the author and Erickson goes like, I don't know. You gotta ask Cam. And Cam goes like, I don't know. We never decided that one. And that like open-endedness, I think, is really something that a lot of us struggle with when we first encounter it, because we are used to sort of like enclosed worlds, whether it's in video games or in books at this point. We're kind of used to this sort of like the fact that there is an answer, and Malazan doesn't have that. And at the same time, it is incredibly planned. Like, if you read Malazan for the second time or the third time, you'll realize how much setup Erickson does in the first book. But you don't know that right now because, you know, you have no idea where the story is going.
It didn't really feel like a setup book, which is nice because it just feels like you're getting like a nice. You're just following these characters as they're going.
You get a really cool story about like the bridge burners going into the city and doing the thing there and stuff. But yeah,
I finished. Well, I don't want to say book one because I'm not finished with the actual book yet, but you know, part one, I should say, finished that the other night.
Yeah,
and yeah, you know, it's. I don't know if this. I don't know what you would say to this, but I kind of noticed. I kind of felt there was a bit of a tonal inconsistency, or you know, maybe it's just, you know, him just kind of throwing stuff here. But I was kind of like, okay, you know, I'm kind of digging this like dark foreboding thing, and then like randomly, or not, maybe not randomly, but then Animander Rake shows up and is just like, yeah, just demolishes everybody. I'm like, okay, you know. I thought there would be more build up to this, but okay.
Yeah, and that's like one of those like really interesting things with the Malazan Book of the Fallen. It is, I said like the very first video I ever made is like, if you want to understand the Malazan Book of the Fallen, it's much closer to like history writing, like historiography. And you start reading this, and people show up that have been like powers in the land for like fucking ever, and you don't know about them because you're starting this book. But like it's like starting to read about the Roman Empire, but you only start like after Augustus died, right? And there's like people hanging out. You don't know about any of them, and they just like show up and, you know, like Animander Rake just like do Animander Rake shit. And
I don't know if he's a loser. He just freaking curb stomped like
no.
Three big wizards.
But like if you go and read, and that's like a thing. Like there's the Carcanas trilogy, which is probably going to be like 4 books at this point, and the first 2 are out, and the second, like the next one is going to be Walk in Shadow, which hopefully comes out like, I don't know, next year or 2 years or whatever. And that's sort of like where you get like Anamander Rake's backstory, which is like 300,000 years before Guardians of the Moon. And that's kind of the thing, like you get like glimpses into this like history of this entire like world. And it doesn't start at point zero, because there's always something that has already been going on for like the last couple of thousand years at the end of the day. And that can be sort of like disorienting.
I mean, I did pick up on a good couple things. I'm like, okay, so the Emperor's dead. I should also note, I did kind of watch a Here's a Malzahn, here's kind of where we start kind of dummies kind of thing. So I was like, okay, I'll watch this, but I'm not going to watch any commentary until I'm done with the book. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try and go in as blind as possible, with exception for my Sherpas, like you and a friend of mine named Ty, who's a huge fan of Malzahn's, been trying to get me to read it for years.
Yeah.
I sent you this big message going like, okay, so here's what I got so far, and I sent you a bunch of stuff. I'm like, I think that girl, sorry, is that the girl from the beginning? And all you said was D, yes.
Yeah. The thing is,
I was like, all right, I guess the rest is spoiler.
But are you aware of the fact that the Paran is the boy from the prologue?
Yes.
Okay, that part at least. And Whiskey Jack is in the prologue as well, right?
Yeah, I didn't notice that till later. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, now he's dead, and oh wait, now he's in the afterlife. That's weird. Like, this old lady shows up.
There's an interesting thing when it comes to like translations and stuff. And so the German translation doesn't call it the Malazan Book of the Fallen. It calls it Das Spiel der Götter, which means the game of the gods. And that is a bit of a spoiler compared to the Malazan Book of the Fallen, but like, gods are a big deal in this world, and you don't want to mess with those fuckers, as you may have noticed by now.
I've noticed that gods are just like, they're just chilling. They're just hanging out, There's also like things called the Ascendant, which I end up learning from some other people, are like, they're like champions, demigods, or is that spoilery?
No, so it's complicated. Like, you can be an Ascendant. If you are an Ascendant that has enough like people that follow you and worship you, you can become a god. But that's kind of that's sort of like the road is like, be a really cool guy, get lots of power, get people to worship you, and you may end up being a god.
Interesting. But yeah, there's like like Anamander Rake, they're like, oh yeah, we made this deal with Anamander Rake, Moonspawn. It's this like pyramid thing. And then he like wrecks some people, and then he just goes away. He's like, I'm done with this. This is bullshit. I'm like, what is this? So that's a little confusing. But aside from that, it's I can follow it for the most part.
Thornell, yes, technically in Malazan, I guess Trump would be god, like one of the gods. The point is, like, gods are not necessarily like good people, which is sort of like, the other side of that equation. If everyone can become a god, then gods can be like everyone else, and we all know that everyone else is dickheads, basically.
Yeah, I was about to say some of the like the wizard battle between Rake and Tattersail and some of the others, like Hairlock gets involved. I'm like, yeah, this feels very like D&D.
Yes, Capricious Fox. That's kind of the thing. I mean, it is based off their like old D&D game. I think there's also like a parallel in a way to like Discworld. If you've read Small Gods, the idea that like your power as a god comes from like how many believers, like actual believers you have that follow you and so forth. So you have that connection in there, as definitely, yes. The thing is, though, and that's something that like both like Pratchett in Small Gods gets into, and that becomes more and more important throughout the Malazan novels, is like, if God's powers, the powers of gods and goddesses comes from their believers, that means that they are sort of also tied to what their believers want, which, it's a power that goes like both ways. So believers can force the gods to do things that those gods as individuals may not actually want to do, but because, of being sort of like tied to their believers, that can also go the other way around, which can lead to some very interesting things over time.
I guess Ori isn't a fan of Malazan. I don't know. I'm kind of confused. But yeah, Malazan is something. We'll say that. I don't know if it's the most difficult fantasy I've ever read. I mean, I did read Gormenghast. I read Titus Groan, and the story's pretty simple, but man, the atmosphere in that can be a bit overwhelming, we'll say. And also I read Black Leopard, Red Wolf, which, and also, well, the whole Dark Star trilogy in general can be a bit not hard to comprehend, but
but that's the thing, like Thornal, like faith can still change reality, but I think the important part is that it is like a two-way street. It's like you get your power from your believers. That means your believers also have power over you, because you know what I mean, and that's important there.
I also recently got Men at Arms, so hopefully I'll get to read that sometime in August. So, and maybe we'll have another Discworld Files episode. I just need to get Derry on board. And I'll be like, what's going on with Vimes? Right, But I'm going through Gardens of the Moon, and it's something. That's all I gotta say. I think hopefully book 2 will be illuminating. Probably not, from what I've heard from people, but we'll see.
I never know where the end of book 1 is, because there's like one scene, and it might still be in book 1.
Well, I am in part 2, Darujistan.
I can't Darujistan.
Darujistan, yeah.
Darujistan, yes. That's really cool. Now, you've encountered Krupp, or yeah, you've encountered Krupp.
No. I won't say.
He's the voice in, I think, already in like the prologue for book 2, like on his dream when he walks down the street and so forth. Anyway, the thing I'm trying to get to is, and it's either in book 1 or in book 2, but I think it's still in book 1. You have that dinner with Tattersail and Tok the Younger and everyone. This really intense dinner, like with the commanders, that gets like really intense. Is that scene already there, or has that not yet happened?
I don't know if that. I think that I know that she and Whiskey Jack and some of the other guys have met, because I think that
of course
he's trying to like turn her on their side, but then like the big head honcho wizard's like, oh, it's the Empress's will, and I'm just like, okay, who's on whose side? What's going on here? I thought these two groups were fighting. I thought Whiskey Jack and the crew were fighting the wizard and the other people. Yeah, that's the confusing part. I'll admit that's confusing.
It is very complicated. And I'll say this, like Teishran, the big mage in this part, he's a massive dickhead in these specific books. But when you read later books, especially when you read the Path of Ascendancy books by Cam Asselmont, you get like his perspective. And if you think of Teishran being pretty far out on the autism spectrum, you will understand why he does the things he does, and is maybe not an asshole, but just like someone who's trying his best to sort of get through by just following rules and stuff.
I don't know. He seemed kind of like a jerk.
He's not. He's a nerd who's really into magic stuff and tries to not, because he's really not good at interacting with people.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm not always good at interacting with people either because I have Asperger's. So maybe I'll end up relating with the guy. We'll see. But let me like the last scene is like there was like a Hairlock showed up and some hounds attacked Tattersail. I'm like, okay. And then Hairlock's
You've
a
heard
puppet,
about
by
these
the
hounds
way.
before, as you may remember.
Yeah. I've heard of these hounds. I'm sure they're. I don't know how many of you. I know some of you have read the Malazan books, but I don't know if anyone. But yeah, no. Let me think. Yeah. Hairlock's a puppet. I guess he got sick of his rotting corpse body, so he's like, I'm gonna be a puppet now.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. Like they made that deal that if he gets killed, they'll put him into the puppet. But
Yeah, they're all like, oh,
we
this
all
is this
know
rare.
we all know that like puppets with magic powers are definitely like a safe thing to be.
Yeah, no, it's like he's like, oh, soul stirring, this like very rare ability, and I'm just like, they're just talking about this stuff like it's nothing, It's kind of, if I recall right, I think I've heard Erickson say that he was inspired by like the Odyssey, kind of like the Odyssey in that way, where the gods are like, you kind of pissed me off today. Here's a storm. It's like that,
But that's kind of the thing. Like, there's a lot of like, yeah, the Odysseys and the Iliad is not like the worst sort of like reference material if you want to understand like how the gods in this world behave. It's like you don't want to fuck with them, but they'll definitely fuck with you no matter what you say, and that can lead to some problems.
Let me see. I mean, I liked Paran, and then he just gets murdered. I'm just like, Jesus Christ! Like, I thought this dude was gonna be like a big player, and then there's like a dream sequence, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe he'll still be a big player, and then he's back to life. You're like, okay, all right, this is just how this works. Again, reminds me a lot of D&D. I guess he got a real good dice score,
I mean, it is sort of like vaguely based on their D&D and then later GURPS.
Well, I know.
So.
I mean, I know. I know. I'm probably gonna get those. Well, actually, it was a D&D game, so
I started at D&D and then they moved to GURPS because GURPS is way more flexible.
That's a good point. That's what I've heard. Yeah. Yeah. I read. Oh man. So I like Whiskey Jack. He's fun. He's good. He has a cool name.
Yeah, Whiskey Jack is fine.
Quick Ben. I like the Bridge Burners. I'll say. I know a lot of people like the Bridge Burners, but
all of them are pretty cool. They're very much based on the Black Company in a lot of ways. Whiskey Jack is fine. He's a bit too much your Aragorn character, like too much the sort of like troubled, grizzled leader kind of guy.
Like Quick Ben. I like that crew, like Karen and Quick Ben. I like those guys. I haven't met Krupp yet, so I don't have an opinion on him. House Gardens. Well, that's actually what we're talking about right now. I'm finding it it's really interesting. Not in necessarily I don't know if it's quite in that like Baz Leg or Dark Star levels of wow, I've not really read anything like this before, but it's definitely an interesting kind of jumbling of tones and characters and ideas, I think. I'm trying not to offend Raph here by saying I find the tones are a little jumbled at times.
I just want to shout out Ori for actually mentioning Dread, which is like one of those like really cool role-playing games that yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, actually Ori and I finished Sweet Tooth last night. I did my reread of Sweet Tooth. It's really good. It's still great, by the way. But let me see. What is Dark Star? That is the fantasy trilogy by Marlon James. I'll pull out the first book. But you could read either or first or second books. But
I'm still waiting for the third one.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I'm actually gonna. Raph, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear this. I actually ended up getting the audiobook for A Brief History of Seven Killings. I ended up getting a deal. So after Gardens of the Moon, I'm gonna jump into A Brief History of Seven Killings.
I'm sure you're gonna have fun with that. It's really good. The audiobook is also like really well done because like you have different narrators for all the different point of view characters that you have in the book. which works really well because like all of it is like stream of consciousness, first person kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you better brush up on your different variants of Jamaican patois because, oh boy.
Yeah, I watched his show. It's called oh man, what's it called? Get Millie Blank. So yeah, I did
Yeah.
watch that. But I that's why I got the audiobook. I because I've realized that I think the what makes Marlon James's stuff unique, at least to me, is it's very much based on like oral storytelling.
Yeah.
So you speak it out loud. I think it makes a more fluid read. But but yeah, so I finally decided to take my own advice and get one of the audiobooks for one of his books. So I got it for Brief History. Hopefully I don't grow to regret it because I've heard that Brief History can be a bit of a dense read. Then again, I got through Black Leopard and Moon Witch pretty good, so I think I'll be all right.
Yeah.
But going back to
exactly what Ori said, like Dread is a horror role-playing game, tabletop role-playing game, and you use a Jenga tower, which means that like every time you make those kind of like horror situation like rolls, you need to pull out a break on the Jenga tower, which sort of like raises the stakes as it may be to sort of like give you that dread in like a more physical sense. It's a really, really, really cool game for that specific type of storytelling role-playing game. And yes, yeah, Jenga towers are like a really good metaphor for Malazan, which is like it's a really huge pile of things, and if you look down at the bases, there's not that much down there.
Well, I haven't. I mean, I thought he was talking about Judge Dredd at first, but I also got the Devils at the bookstore same day I got Man at Arms. So I don't know what I'll make of this book, but we'll see once I get to it.
The Devils is fine. The problem is that it's too close to the first Law books in that you can really clearly map like which character is which character, and he used the same sort of kind of tricks. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, look, I got it. Oh, so we have a character that like goes into like a berserker rage and then is like a different character, and then afterwards regrets what they have done when they were like in berserker mode. I think I've seen that somewhere before. I just can't remember where. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like a guy who had only like 9 fingers left. I'm really sure about that. But like, so it's if it's your first Abercrombie, I think it's a really good Abercrombie. If it's your 10th Abercrombie, it kind of gets repetitive.
It'll be my 5th Abercrombie, so that's nice to know. But I did end up going back to Malazan. It's yeah, it's a book. I have read the first Law. Yes, I've read the first trilogy and also Best Served Cold, which I watched. I don't mean to kind of bring the controversy here already, but I watched Daniel Green's like top 10 fantasy books the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. And I was just kind of looking for something to watch, and I just kind of when I end up, clicking on, he put Best Served Cold as his best one. I'm like, that's not even the best thing he's done.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I would say that probably the Heroes is the tightest thing he's ever done.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that's like the single best thing he ever did. So I'll get to that. It's
necessarily like the most entertaining or whatever, but like when it comes to like executing the concept of like let's make this like basically like a war movie as a fantasy novel, and it's just like the battle for like 3 days, and that's that. It just like is very, very tight, and it's sort of like where his sort of like background as like an editor and from like his work as in the cutting room for television and so forth really comes through, because he knows how to make that stuff like feel really cinematic and effective in that sort of like very tight focus in a way, and that's what makes the Heroes so good. Is it like the story-wise the most interesting? Hell no. It's just like a bunch of people sitting on trying to fight over like one muddy hill, and that's boring. But then again, that's war,
Yeah, no, Dimitri says that, I thought Wheel of Time would be number 1. It was the Crippled God. I'm just like, okay, I guess he's, I guess he's on the Malzahn train. I'm just starting to get on. So it's like a slippery little, it's like a slippery train, but I'm getting on there. It's like being on the Polar Express and you're like trying not to slip off the roof or whatever you want to call that on top of the card. Or I don't freaking know. But I am on the ride now, and I'm not. I don't want to get off. So trying to hold on.
Yeah. So Ori, I still have to read the Half a King, Half a War, Half a whatever the third one is. Books, and maybe they are the best ones. Like, I mean, I think like Abercrombie has a very strong, very distinctive voice. Like you recognize an Abercrombie book after like, I don't know, 2 sentences basically. And that's really good. That's really powerful. But like it kind of comes with that danger of like once you're used to it and he switches like worlds, you're like, oh, it's just like First Law, even though it is trying to be something different. And for me, he failed at being different enough at this point. And that's a bit of a shame because like having like a new sort of like setting or whatever would have allowed him to sort of like stretch himself some more and maybe add some other things in there. But maybe there's just like nothing more.
But Tharnall, he wants to know, what are you reading, Raph, at the moment?
That is sadly true, Thornall. There is no orc like a Trolloc. Fucking hell.
I would expect him to write more like a gritty noir book than a murder mystery under a female pseudonym. He doesn't seem like the Agatha Christie type, but hey, he can surprise me. Ori said, if Abercrombie wrote a murder mystery under a female pseudonym, what would be his tell for you to identify him?
Lots of people falling on their asses in mud. That is like the thing that happens to everyone in all of his books. People fall on their asses a lot.
Yeah, I'm just kind of...
So, Thornall, I am currently reading Everything for Everyone, an oral history of the New York Commune 2052 to 2072 by, oh gods, names are difficult. Emmy O'Brien and
was it a science fiction book?
It's a science fiction book. It's super good. It's really interesting. I just need to look up the author names because I'm not good at that stuff.
I've never heard of any of this. Though from the sounds of it, it kind of sounds like that one book that Kim Stanley Robinson did called what was it? It was like oh damn it, Ministry of the Future, I think.
Oh, that was pretty solid. Yeah, it's by Emmy O'Brien and Iman Abdelhadi, and it's what is so interesting about it? It is science fiction, and it is similar to Ministry for the Future in that it is very sort of like focused on like actual like how can we actually get shit done kind of thing. So it's like very policy focused. But what makes it so interesting is that subtitle. Like, it's an oral history of the New York Commune. So it's like, yeah, in 2072, the New York Commune is a thing, and this is sort of like a retrospective, and it's an oral history. So it's a number of basically short stories that are each like the interview with one of the fictitious actors of the revolution that brought about the New York Commune, framed by sort of like the academic framing that you do for like oral histories. Like, this is why we did it this way. This is how we edited the interviews and so forth. So it's a really interesting concept in that regard. And it's really cool because it is, it's not a dystopia. It's actually like a utopian novel. It's like, hey, this is what we could actually get to if we, did stuff, and that makes it really interesting. And it it focuses roughly on New York, but you have like people from all kind of walks of life. And the first part is like a sex worker who takes part in like a food riot, and from there on it starts like food banks and distributing food to people. And then there's a part about like the liberation of Palestine and the Levant, and then it does all these like different things through these like different voices in that like oral history framework, which makes it just like stylistically and structurally like a really interesting kind of book. So I'm having a lot of, I don't know if fun is not necessarily like the right word, but like I'm really enjoying this. This is really, really good. And before that, I read Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates, which is solid, but not, well, I mean, it's from 2020 and we're in 2025. And a book that was written about the manosphere in 2020 is unfortunately like woefully out of date by now. Before that, I read the really, really good Immediacy or the Style of Too Late Capitalism by Anna Kornblue, which I can highly recommend if Marxist literary theory is your kind of thing. And I know that's like a very, very small audience, but like it's a really interesting book looking at like how the sort of like the times we live in, like the political and global sort of like situation we live in, how that influences the way we write, the way we produce media in general and so forth. In that regard, it's a really interesting book. And I do really appreciate the like going from late capitalism to too late capitalism, that feeling that like we have kind of fucked up and we can't stop climate change anymore. We're kind of beyond that. So what do we do now, kind of, and how that impacts like how we produce media in any form, I think is like is an interesting and important question. And in that regard, I really enjoyed that or appreciated it. It draws a lot of like on like Mark Fisher and Frederick Jameson and Raymond Williams and so forth. So it is theory. Like that's kind of the problem. Like it's academic stuff.
Excuse me.
Which maybe is part of like the problem of like the stuff I read these days. But I am going to read The Bewitching on Tuesday, and I'm very excited about it.
I don't think I've heard of this.
The Bewitching is the new novel by Silvia Moreno Garcia.
Oh yeah, I've heard of her. Yeah, she's done a good couple of things.
And
I know Mexican Gothic blew up a few years ago.
I really enjoyed her novel from last year, the Seventh Whale of Salome. That was really interesting and really good, which was about like 1950s Hollywood, big sort of like sword and sandal Bible movies, mixing that with like the actual story of Salome and mixing that with like the racism in like 50s Hollywood and so forth. Really good book. And the new one is about horror novels and witchcraft in New England with like a dark academia sort of like background. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, I haven't had any 5-star reads so far this year. I've had a couple of books that are up there, like Titus Grown was really good. Phased was really good. The Sisters Brothers was really good. What else did I read?
Oh no, Chadia, I'm so sorry. I really enjoyed Navola, however you pronounce it. It's a weird book though. I'll give you that. It's a weird book. And shit goes down in like the last 10%, basically.
I've read 39 books so far this year.
I have read 101 books.
Damn.
According to Goodreads.
Yeah, I was about to say, Goodreads. I'm keeping track. It's 39. Yeah, it's been a slow year. And be honest with you, there's books that were far denser than I anticipated.
Yeah. No, I was doing like a lot of reading on like I'm going to make a video on artificial intelligence and books and publishing and stuff, and it's going to be recorded this week, hopefully. I may have like a root canal kind of thing at my dentist on Tuesday, which may prevent me from talking for a while. But otherwise, the artificial intelligence video will come, and it's going to be long and frustrating because it's full of Nazis.
Oh yeah, didn't Silvio Marino Garcia make a book about like film, and there's like a Nazi occult
Oh,
stuff?
you mean Silver Nitrate?
Yeah.
I haven't read that yet, but I've heard like people that have read it said it's like really, really good. So
What do you think of this like Nazi occult thing that sometimes has gone around? You know, you see it in like Indiana Jones and some other stuff. You know, you're a German and all.
All
I
right.
would think you have
so,
opinions on that.
Look, Nazi occultism is cool. We've all played one. All of us have played at least one Wolfenstein game. I don't know which one it was, depending on your age, but no, Nazi occultism is really cool. There are some Nazi occultist sort of like elements in there, and you know, depending on who you talk, like what you're looking at in the SS, there is some occultism there. Yes. Was it ever like a big deal? No. Is it easy to focus on that because that kind of goes to like, well, they're all like evil, weird occultists, and we don't have to reckon with the fact that like normal people can like commit like absolute fucking crimes against humanity all the time. Yeah, that's also like super tempting. So there is that tension in there. So I never really know what to do with it. It kind of depends on how you do stuff. But yes, Nazi occultism was a thing. It was much less important than people make it out to be, and it's easy to focus on that because it is cool and interesting and all of that stuff. And it kind of keeps us from like reckoning with the fact that like, yeah, if people are afraid, people do a lot of really, really horrendous shit, which is, you know, something that is the way more important lesson that I guess other countries can also learn. But it's easier to focus on like, you know, Black Suns and Nazi bullshit and occultist bullshit.
Yeah, oh Lord. I'm sure that I have read Hellboy. I forgot about Hellboy. Yeah, Hellboy has some Nazi occult stuff in there. That's a good series. It's very pulp inspired. So
That is in fact true, which is also why Tidar does in fact dedicate his books to Silvia Moreno Garcia, and Silvia Moreno Garcia dedicates her
like
books to Lavi Tidar.
hope he's not dedicating his books to Hitler. That would be bad. Doesn't he live in Israel?
He lives in London.
I think that would be like a capital offense if you lived out there. Dedicate your books to Hitler.
Lavi Tidar does live in London at the moment.
Oh yeah, you talked to him not too long ago. It's a good point. Yes, I did. I do.
Still have to read the Atrocity Archives. I've been following Charlie Stross forever on social media, and I'm like, I'm gonna read the Atrocity Archives. I'm gonna read the Atrocity Archives. I'm gonna read the Atrocity Archives. Oh, something shiny. I'm gonna read the Atrocity Archives. I'm gonna read the Atrocity Archives. Yeah, you know, yeah, it's bad, but I'm gonna read the Atrocity Archives at some point.
Yeah, isn't like one of his books about like Hitler being a private detective, or is that someone else who did that? Lavi Tidar, I mean.
I think like the thing is like the Nazi occultism stuff is fascinating because like depending on where you come from, it's also like a way to show like how incredibly stupid those people are or were. But being you know gullible fucking idiots is no excuse for like war crimes.
Yeah, wasn't like Himmler into that stuff? Wasn't he like genuinely into like occultism
Yeah,
and like
no,
paganism and stuff?
Himmler definitely was into that stuff, and there's like and that's like the other part, right? Like, there's a long tradition of like weird occultist stuff from like the 19th century that is already like pretty fucking anti-Semitic, both in Germany and in other places. So this doesn't come out of nowhere. It's just that you focus on the SS stuff. You ignore the books about like all the other like weird eugenics, occultist, strange stuff that comes out of like old school Blavatsky style theosophy, and goes into like Rudolf Steiner's style of anthroposophy, and there's so much weird shit happening in like the late 19th century, early 20th century, and you combine that with like both like the will and opportunity to commit genocide, then you end up with like Nazi stuff. But that doesn't absolve anyone else who was believing in like all of the same things, but like were living in like places where they could only read weird books. And I think that's sort of like where the whole idea of like going like this is Nazi occultism is like, no, this is occultism. This is like 19th century, late 19th century, early 20th century occultism is racist as fuck. It's anti-Semitic as fuck. It's just that like in Germany in the 30s, the people that were already into like that specific type of occultism also were in power and could actually do stuff. But you know what I mean? Those things are like separate from from the other.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Baltimore. With some of my comic book guys, they're big Hellboy fans, and they're like, "Yo, you should check out Baltimore." I'm like, "Yeah, maybe one day," and I just haven't gotten to it yet because there's so many books and comics to read. It's obscene.
All right, which one's the Nazi story in Clark's World, Ori? I really like his like steampunk is Nazi. It's just like what's the term? It's like
I was kind of fascinated with Nazis. This is kind of concerning.
no, it's just like depending on where you come from, you kind of have to reckon with that thing. And
yeah,
it was like a
he's from
steampunk.
like
Steampunk
Israel,
is,
isn't he?
and the story is called like steampunk is fascism for nice people. Highly recommend that. It's really good. It says a lot about steampunk, and I think he's mostly right.
Well, I thought steampunk was like a satire of like British imperialism.
Yeah, that's kind of the question, though.
And also, I read Baz Lag. That's communist as fuck. Or at least it's pretty pro. Like, yeah, we should overthrow the bourgeoisie.
Ah, okay. No, I haven't read that one. I need to read that one, Ori. And Ida, I wish I knew how those badges actually work. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, it's basically what we've Nazis, Malazan, and the occult. Well, yeah, that's about how this goes. But yeah, no, I've just been but yeah, it's yeah, Malazan's been a fun ride so far. It's been an interesting ride. It's there's the old saying, go big or go home. I don't know if you've ever heard, I don't know if that's a thing out there in Germany.
Yeah.
But Ericsson's really taken that to heart, man. That's all I gotta say. That's all I'll say right now.
I said like there's like bits and pieces in like Gardens of the Moon, and I've read like the Malazan Book of the Fallen like 4 times now, and there's stuff like I realize on like my 4th read where I'm like, holy shit, he just like basically spoils the entire fucking thing in book 1, the same way that Gene Wolfe does with Book of the New Sun. And there's a scene in Gardens of the Moon that explains almost all of it, and you'll miss it. You'll miss it on the second go around as well, and like at some point you go like, "Fuck, you did that."
feel like John would say something this outlandish. Jesus, Ori. My God, man. Killing me here. I mean, would you say you're wrong? I don't know. He was the mastermind of 12 million people dying, 6 to 12, and it's debated. I think. I don't know. Raph, is it? What do you know what I noticed the other day? Going back on this kind of weird Nazi spiel we've been on. God, I hope my parents don't walk in on this. It's I've been really disappointed seeing just how rampant Holocaust denial and Holocaust skepticism is on Twitter. It's just I was constantly face palming the other day, and Joe texted me. He's like, dude, you should find better people to hang out with. I'm like, I don't freaking hang out with those people. You kidding me?
So here's the thing, like I grew up in Germany, and
It's
like if you grow up in Germany, go to school in Germany, you get you get this stuff like rammed home a lot, which can be really frustrating if you're a teenager growing up. It's like, why do I have to read about the Holocaust in German class? Why do I have to learn about it in religion or ethics class? Why do I have to learn about it in history? Okay, I get it, but like you get it everywhere. And you get like really frustrated and annoyed. And then you like actually look at the internet and goes like, okay, that's why we need to actually ram this shit home, because seriously.
People are gonna do it again.
Not like now I've had friends sadly no longer with us who were tour guides in Dachau concentration camp, and I have other people that have worked in Auschwitz, and
oh shit, that must have been
like
weird.
You study history, you hang out with historians, and like who you gonna think it's gonna be like tour guides in concentration camps in Germany? It's gonna be history students who need like a student job.
Oh, I thought you meant like you met people who actually fucking work there. I'm like, damn, that must have been fucking
No. I know people who are working there now as tour guides.
Oh, okay.
But that still means
that
still means
that's
like
fucked up.
But like beyond that,
And
like,
no, I haven't, Darnell. I've heard the movie's really bad though, of Blood Rain. Yeah.
I like, Germany is not really good when it comes to like dealing with its past. It's better than some countries, I guess, but it's not perfect by any stretch.
I don't know. I thought there was a whole thing after World War II where we basically like forced them to drop Nazism because it was just so bad.
Yes and
like,
no.
We really
it's cool.
we really put him to the hammer, if you will.
That was a very soft hammer.
Then we split it in half for almost 60 years. Or not 60 years, 40 years.
So the thing is, yes, there was a large program called denazification, which is, looking at everyone, what did they do and so forth. But the thing is, on the other hand, like if you want to actually reestablish a country, you need people that know how to do like know how to do like country stuff, like government shit, like administration shit, all of that stuff. And if everyone was part of the Nazi regime, you need to be like, yeah, I guess we're gonna cut some corners and make sure that at least some people that know how to be, if everyone who studied law was a judge on the Nazis or had fled to Russia because they were communists, you can think who's gonna get like all the jobs as judges in Western Germany. And it's not gonna be the people that fled to Russia, right?
Yeah, it was a bad time, I'll say.
Yeah, my point is that, like,
were you alive during the Iron Curtain, or was that after your time?
Yes and no. I was born in like 84.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, yeah, I was alive during the end of the. It's a fun thing. My flatmate was born in Dresden, and like every time we go like and don't do like blood donations, you have to when you donate blood, you need to write down like are you born in Germany and so forth? And he always has to sign like I was born in a different country because he was technically still born in like the GDR. It was like, but yeah, so yeah, I technically was born before the fall of the Iron Curtain, but it's like your awareness of the world is fairly limited when you're like 4 years old.
That's fair. I mean, I didn't want to age you there, but I was curious, because it like came
Yeah,
down
so
in
like
the 90s.
no, like my memory of all of that is incredibly limited. I have a memory of my mother talking to my grandmother about the fall of the Berlin Wall, and it's like when that happened. But I obviously I was asleep when that happened because I was a kid, and but I remember them talking about it the actual day afterwards, and I remember the putsch in Russia against Gorbachev. In like 91, I think. Was that like 91? Yeah, the putsch against Gorbachev that then got like put down, and that kind of put Yeltsin into power at the end of the day. I remember that because I was on like holidays with my father because my parents were already like divorced at the time, and we went on like summer holidays with my dad, and we were in our hotel, and I remember watching those news on the television and totally not understanding any of it, but that moment probably more because of like being like on holidays with my dad, which didn't happen once per year, sort of like has been like much more important in like me remembering that moment than the stuff on the news, because once again I was like 5 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah, oh man, what was the big first like historical event that I remember? Because I was born 6 months before 9/11, and I don't remember any of that shit. So probably a good thing, because that was a pretty horrific time from all the people I'd known who talked about it. It's it's kind of weird. Ori says you have a live streamed genocide and people deny it. Not difficult. Here's the thing, like there are documents and photographs and interviews, like the most damning being the people who actually freaking did it. None of them ever denied that it happened. They all were like, oh, but I didn't know what was going on, or they were like, I was just following orders. It's like, it's so like the documentation is like, oh, it's painful. It's painful. It's painful. Stupidity pisses me off, Raph, if you didn't notice already.
Yeah, no,
Just
it came to my attention.
Fucking idiots anger me, like the same people who go like, oh well, what's another people being stupid that pisses me off? Oh, being anti-Semitic while being Christian. I'm like, that makes no fucking sense whatsoever. You're an idiot. Just full stop. I hate to tell you this, Martin Luther, but you're fucking stupid. You worship a Jew, and you're fucking anti-Semitic. Are you kidding me? I know Raph's like, oh my god, his dude just does not get the historical context here. But I'm like, this guy's a fucking moron. You're fucking stupid. If you think
Look,
that if you hate Jews,
I'm not disputing anything you just said about Martin Luther. Just get me like, I'm a Catholic. I'm on board.
Oh yeah, that's right. He fucking hated. Who didn't Martin Luther hate? He just, I guess, Protestants. He didn't hate Protestants.
Well, I mean, so there's a serious conversation to be had about all of that, and there's like nuance in there, and Catholics are not exactly exempt from being like hardcore anti-Semites. Just to be
well,
clear.
I'm not saying that. It's just it's stupid.
I think
it's dumb. Stop being stupid. Probably why I like. Probably why I liked
Reformation history. Reformation history is a very nuanced kind of thing. I live in a town that has the oldest Protestant university in the world. And And if you want to know why this country, like the place I live in, turned Protestant at the time, it was because our Landgrave, Philip, really wanted to marry his mistress without divorcing his wife. And he was like, so there's polygamy in like the Old Testament. Does that mean we can still do this or not? And the Catholic Church said, like, no fucking way. And Martin Luther was like, well, I mean, the Old Testament says polygamy is fine, so I guess you're fine. He's like, all right, I'm converting.
I was about to say, and you know what? I'm not even gonna go there. Look, Ori, I'm not saying like it's not. I'm not saying like historically Christians have like hated on Jews. I mean, they were the ones who made up the whole blood thing. That's like a big anti-Semitic thing. I know that, but it's still dumb. Like, come on, just because it happens historically, like people thought not too long, about 50 years ago, almost, maybe even more than that, 60 something years ago, they thought that we should split up black people and white people just because they had different skin from each other. I mean, look, I get there's historical context there, but that is objectively stupid. It makes no sense when you think about it. Which I know I'm probably speaking from like hindsight, 21st century here, but it's like, come on, man.
Well, there has always been anti-Semitism
Smart people
in
have
Christianity.
dumb ideas all the time. Like, seriously, like, Jesus Christ, like, what? There's smart people who have dumb takes all the time. Like, that's yeah.
There's like several layers of like anti-Semitism in Christianity. Like you have the first like early Christianity sort of like needs to sort of like separate itself and distance itself from Judaism. So that's sort of like where anti-Semitism creeps in, and then you have all kinds of other elements come in. And let's not forget about like all like the Christian Zionism, which is so fucking anti-Semitic at its core. It's like, yeah, we need all the Jews in Israel, and then some of them can convert, and the rest will die because we need the rapture to come now. And I'm like, that's fucked up.
You know, it's kind of
like,
funny
have you thought
mention
about
that.
that?
That's kind of funny you mentioned that because
No,
I
it's
read
not
a
funny.
book that was all about that, as a matter of fact,
Oh,
called the Yiddish Policemen's Union, and we talked about it.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. It's like
Christian Zionist terrorists.
Well, I mean, have you ever wondered what, like, the current ambassador to Israel believes?
Well, sure. I mean, you could hell, if Lolita taught us anything, you can talk someone into following somebody who is a legit pedophile. Like, I think that's just human susceptibility right there. And I'm not saying I'm immune from this. I've been caught up in some crazy shit. I mean, not that bad, but
Now, my point is that there's a long history of anti-Semitism within Christianity, and it jumps from like place to place and so forth. But like what you have in your current, like, especially like the evangelical right, not every megachurch, I don't know which one yours is, but like Christian Zionism is at its core anti-Semitic, and the fact that like someone like Mike Huckabee is currently ambassador to Israel.
Isn't he a fucking Zionist?
Of course he is. I mean, yes. But the question is like, why is he a Zionist? And that's sort of like where you need to look at. Like,
Isn't it because he's like Christian or something? Because
yeah, he's a Christian Zionist. He needs all the Jews to be in Israel, so then we can get the rapture, and like 144,000 of them will convert and be saved, and the rest will die.
Then again, I should know. Half of my countrymen thought it would be a good idea to put Donald John Trump into the Oval Office. So I rest my case. Again. Yes.
Yeah.
I rest my case. It's just you're not dumb, Ida. You're a good kid.
No, but like
dumb people annoy me is all I'll say. Like dumb shit annoys me. Like
yeah, but like I mean, there's a lot of like interesting stuff to be learned about like why anti-Semitism is really specifically different from like other forms of like, racism and religious discrimination, because there is a difference. It's just like very difficult to sort of like explain that without like, taking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. But it is real, and it is a difference. And yeah.
Can you believe that shit was a year ago? Speaking of Trump getting shot in the ear, I remember I was in this very office. Like I was watching a stream or something. And it's like, oh, Trump got shot. I'm like, oh, fuck. Well, he's probably going to win now. That's the first thing I thought. Is that the saddest thing in the planet? I'm like, he's going to fucking win now.
Like I got my ear pierced and I did not become president. The fuck? No.
That's the sad part. Like I wasn't even like, holy shit, like this has gotten bad. Like he almost got killed, Well, he didn't almost get killed. Luckily the guy was not a very good shot.
Yeah. That's like the things like there have been like several attempts on Donald Trump's life, and all of them have come from the far right. And I feel like all the right-wing people are the people that spent like all their lives on like the fucking shooting range. Like, how come you motherfuckers are so bad at, shooting? You're letting me down. Ida, that's why Winnie the Pooh is my personal idol. I want to be like Winnie the Pooh.
No, it's not a bad idea to be like Jim Cummings when you grow up. No, but I'm just like, geez, man, we're in a weird spot. We are living through history right now. We're in a weird spot in history at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just where I'm at right now, but it almost feels like the world's about to start just throwing hands at each other, Like they're talking about World War III every single day now. It's just like, oh my God, when are we just gonna, hopefully we don't nuke each other. I mean, I'm glad we haven't nuked each other so far, but I'm hoping we don't get to that.
I think like what is interesting in this, and that's kind of sort of like what comes back to that the Anna Kornblue book about calling this like too late capitalism. Like we're in a place where like everyone kind of knows that like sort of like the thing we're in right now is not sustainable. Like, some people go like, well, obviously the planet's going to boil in like a couple of years. And some people go like, well, clearly no one's going to be able to afford anything in like 2 years. And like,
something's going on and we need to find out how to fix it somehow.
Like no matter where on like the political spectrum you are, you kind of realize that the situation right now is not sustainable. It's something's gonna break, and no one knows what it's gonna be. And I feel that sort of like tension is such a key thing right now, where we all know that something's gonna happen, but we don't know what.
Yes, that's my fear, in all honesty.
Ori, you get like admin privileges on that Malazan Discord by virtue of posting a lot. I think you might also have them at this point.
But yeah, anyway, going back to reading stuff, it's been a time. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing Malazan, trying not to jump the shark a bit. I know. I've heard some people say you can't really spoil Malazan, so I'm like, all right, I'll just, what? I'm gonna try and go with the flow. It is a bit hard because Ericsson's just like, oh, here's another character, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then it's like, here's 3 other guys, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
So here's the thing: like, you will get your first glimpse of the actual plot of the series in book 3.
Oh my
God! By book 3,
damn it.
And by book 3, I mean Memories of Ice, and not book 3 of Gardens of the Moon.
Oh.
And then suddenly stuff clicks into place. And suddenly stuff clicks.
Why should I read through Gardens of the Moon then? Like it starts in book 3.
Because all of the stuff that happens before that will then suddenly make sense, and you'll understand why you did not know about the, actual thing.
Okay, I'm just. I knew I got suckered into reading Malazan, but well, I'm in now. I guess we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm just like, why the fuck am I reading the first one then? But yeah, no, it's
Because the first one is really cool and it has like lots of like weird dark elf assassins floating around and killing people.
yeah, I mean, I think Claw is a pretty cool name for assassins. I mean, there's a guy called Topper. I'm like, oh, that's a cool name. Who's that guy? And he just like disappears. You're like, damn it.
He sucks.
Was he a bad dude?
That's not something you can actually say for anyone in the Malazan Book of the Fallen without, I mean, there's a couple of exceptions.
Oh, so is it like, oh, they're just misunderstood? Yeah, okay.
No, they're like complex people in complex situations trying to do the best they can. There are some very clearly bad guys, and you'll notice when they come up.
Sorry seems pretty bad. Be honest, she's fucking psychopath. 15 years old. I was texting a friend of mine. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like there's a part where Whiskey Jack, where Quick Ben and Whiskey Jack and like Karen are talking. And they're like, that sorry girl, she something in her eyes. I don't like it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ. Dude.
Well, I mean, you've heard about the concept of like child soldiers.
Yeah. You're like, geez, man, that's fucked up. But she's like, I'm like, is she like possessed or some shit, or do they fuck with her mind that much already to like turn her into a little assassin? Or is that a spoiler? I don't know. That's the thing.
I will not say anything on that score. You could have figured it out, but you can figure it out over the next couple of pages. But yeah, there is something going on, but it's also very much like a play on, like not a play, but like it's a comment on the idea of like child soldiers, which, to be fair, that's a sliding scale. Yes, you have child soldiers in Africa that are like 9-10 years old, but like, is someone who's 16 joins the army, how far away from child soldier are they really?
Yeah, I mean, we out here they're always complaining that we can't drink till we're 21, but you can shoot people when you're 18. Like that makes sense. That checks out. But I digress. I won't try to be applicable to the United States. But man, it's like, oh well, the Empress, it's the Empress's will, and I'm just like, who the fuck side are you on? Like, okay, does this? I was thinking this is how I think it was gonna go. I thought Whiskey Jack and the gang are over here in the city, holding out. I guess they fled because they got curb stomped or something. And then they're all like, oh, we got to get to the main wizard head honcho guy who might be autistic that you were talking about earlier. And I'm like, who the fuck side are you guys on? I thought you guys were getting wiped out by the Empress. That's Kronk told me that, guys. That's what Kronk said. Is Kronk lying to me? Is that what this is?
Remember when I said that like you need to read Malazan like it is historiography?
Yeah, I remember.
That's the point. Is like all of these people have reasons for the stuff they're doing, and that's kind of what there's like no good guys. Like all of them are the good guys in their own minds.
Well, sure, yeah, that's
with like the possible exception of the couple of like pedophiles that show up later. That
God.
No, those are unambiguously bad guys, and Erickson makes it very clear that they are the bad guys.
Jesus. What I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to his Conan guy, but I have to wait 4 books for that. So that's
Karsa Orlong.
Yeah, I saw he made like a I saw he made like a whole treatise about Karsa Orlong and like civilization. Because isn't he kind of like his take on Conan?
It's very much a take on Conan, but it's that's the point. It's a take on Conan. It's when you realize that Conan maybe also not like the best dude around, to put it mildly.
Oh well, yeah, killing people and stealing stuff. I mean that definitely speaks to a quality individual.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Odie, what you said about Jane Austen. So funny thing. So I was recently reading Blood in the Machine by Brian Merchant. Highly recommend that book. It's the kind of book that everyone should read. It's
sorry.
It's a history of the Luddites, and one of the more interesting things in that book, which is a history of the Luddite uprising and its connections to, backlash against big tech nowadays and so forth, is the connections to early 19th century novels and stuff. For example, the Bronte sisters, because their father was actually actively a reverend, burying weavers who were killed during the Luddite uprising, and you can find stuff around that in the Bronte novels, not Jane Eyre and not Wuthering Heights, but others, and tie that in there, and you can tie Frankenstein into the Luddite uprising in a lot of ways. So I found that really interesting as a history book, looking at sort of the literary impact that the Luddites had at that time. So yeah, read Blood in the Machine by Bryant Merchant. Really good book. Highly recommended. You learn a lot.
I was going to ask, didn't you say there was going to be a Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser characters in Gardens of the Moon? I thought I heard you say that once. I could have been mistaken.
They are not in Gods of the Moon. There's no Fafhrd and Grey Mouse's characters. They are in Discworld, though.
Oh, I haven't met them yet. Then
they
are.
That
was Discworld.
In the first Discworld novel, in Color of Magic, there is a duo of characters, and they're called Bravd the Hublander and the Weasel.
All right, I guess I'll have to. I guess I'll have to get Color of the Magic at some point, because I like Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. Though I do know that I know that Erickson likes Fritz Leiber.
I agree, Thornall. Color did nothing wrong. Well, I mean, no, he didn't.
I know Animander is kind of like his take on Elric, though it kind of isn't, because Erickson's oh, I've never read Elric. So
Silchas Ruin is such a cool guy. Silchas is like the party boy of the Malazan universe, and you know that when you read the Carcanos trilogy, and it's so cool.
It's also a guy called the Dancer, but I guess he's dead now. So
who's dead?
The Dancer.
Dead.
Damn.
Dead is.
Or they say, oh, you know what? I'll put it this way: they say he's dead.
Death is a very malleable condition in the Malazan universe.
Yeah, I noticed that. Perrin just gets stabbed, and she's and he's back to life. And you're what the what? Yeah, no.
yeah. Yeah, Thornall, that's exactly what a bad guy would do. Although, to be fair, it's not about her being a prostitute. It's about her selling out his mate to the cops, I think, if I remember that correctly.
I like how Zach describes it. Black Company plus Fritz Leiber plus Elric plus dinosaurs plus archaeology equals Malazan. I like this. I mean, he has a good narrative voice. It's just sometimes you're you think it's gonna be this dark foreboding kind of book, and then it just goes oh, here's this D&D magic battle. Go nuts. I'm just what the fuck? I know Erickson once said, he's all hey, if you have a problem with my books, you can talk with me. I'm you know what, Erickson, I'll take you up on that. Come hang out on my channel. I'll probe you. But I digress.
Ida, yeah, exactly. No, I think that also kind of comes back to that. Yes, there are tone shifts in Malazan, and there's some really dumb
it felt abrupt. It felt abrupt. I'll say that. It felt abrupt to me.
You haven't come to the fecal humor yet.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Oh no. Oh man.
Is there one of the strongest characters of the entire universe fighting a dinosaur knee deep in shit? Yes.
Oh man.
It's a whole thing. It's a tapestry. It's yeah.
I do hear there are dinosaurs in
There's lots of dinosaurs, and they have lasers.
But apparently they're not in Guards of the Moon, so that's
nope.
That's kind of sad. Even though I was never really a dinosaur guy. But I know a lot of people who are, and that was one of the things they were trying to sell me on with Malazan. They're like, "Oh, dinosaurs." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
You'll have to wait for the dinosaurs. There's going to be at least one genocide before you get to the dinosaurs.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God, so much genocide in this. That speaking of that, that's one thing I also kind of like about at least what I've read of Malazan so far is that they're not. He doesn't shy away from the violence, or maybe
No.
not that. I like that he doesn't shy away from the consequences of violence. Like he's not quite as
Yes.
in your face as like a Marlon James or a Joe Abercrombie, but it's definitely there.
It is, and yes, famously, everyone goes like, "Oh, Animander Rake, he's like Elric," and for the longest time, Erickson was always like, "I hadn't read Elric when I created that character, and I didn't know about any of that, especially not the Black Sword." And that was like at some convention, and Esselmon was sitting next to him, just like smiling, going like, "Yeah, but I had read Elric, and I gave you that sword back then." So yeah, it's a collaborative kind of thing, and Esselmont is the guy who brought in the Elric stuff.
No, it's funny. I looked at another Malazan book the other day. It was a Esselmont one. I don't remember what the book was called. I think it was like Path to Ascendancy or something like that. I just kind of casually scroll through and who's dedicated to, but our old friend AP Canavan, the Critical Dragon.
Yeah, he's the developmental editor for a lot of the later books. Like they've been friends for like forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and him talked with Erickson once, yeah?
I talked with Erickson and Epic Canavan, yes. And it was a very, very entertaining conversation, like a really good one.
So, like, how did that happen? Did you just hit up AP like, "Yo, I want to talk to Erickson" or something like that, or was it just kind of like?
No, no, it was like I was saying something, and Erickson was commenting on like one of my videos, and I'm like, "Hey, let's have a conversation about that." And then Canavan AP set that up because he had like the contact to Erickson, and I obviously did not have Erickson's email at the time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Philip's new book is dedicated to AP. I forgot about that. I need to read While Darkness Gathers at some point, but I've just been like a bit swamped, if you will, with some other books. I mean, Gardens of the Moon. I'm just gonna say it's. I don't think it's as hard to read as some people say it is. Then again, I did say that the characters are kind of hard to keep track with, but it takes a lot of mental energy. I'm just saying.
I think like what I really appreciate about even Gardens of the Moon, and Gardens of the Moon is the one that like gets like a lot of like
Yes.
bad rap and everything. It's like once you've read the whole thing and you go back to Gardens of the Moon, you realize how much like nuance is in there and how much like stuff is set up and how much attention Erickson does in fact actually pay to all of these characters, which is I guess like partly why it feels so hard to keep track of them, is because there's some books you read them and you're like, oh, this is like a I don't want to say NPC, but I don't need to care about this character. But like Erickson is good at like dropping in enough detail that you don't know which is going to be like the important character and who's not going to be like an important character. So you can like sort of like sort that in your head where you're like, yeah, this is just like a random dude. I don't need to pay attention to that guy, because you never know if they might just like show up like 6 books later and have like vital information. I'm like, damn, I ignored him in book 1.
My mouth's a bit dry, so I'm gonna get a drink real quick. So, Raph, if you feel free to entertain the masses while I'm gone.
Thornell, I was just going to say the same thing. Also, yeah, 2 scimitars is still like one of the most ridiculous things someone like. No one who's ever actually wielded any swords could come up with the idea of like dual wielding scimitars. I don't know about Britain. I have not even started on the first Idon book yet. I bought the first one, but I was like, I'm gonna wait for book 2 and 3 to be out in audio, and that hasn't happened yet. So I am waiting and waiting and waiting and reading stuff instead. And by stuff, I mean whatever else comes up. But yeah, I did really, really appreciate what Anacorn Blue does with that immediacy, because I think it's interesting for me as someone who does stuff on YouTube, because YouTube is part of like, that level of like immediacy, and she ties it back to, the Situationist International, and, there's a lot of like cultural Marxists, by which I mean Frankfurt School, Adorno and Horkheimer quotes in there, and a lot of Walter Benjamin, and that's like really interesting, like to think about like how we do things when we communicate with other people, and how we do that, like especially if like Britton or me, when we do like stuff on the internet, like on like for public consumption. It's like how we present that kind of stuff, and how immediacy is sort of like something that we aim towards, and why that is in fact a bit of a problem maybe. So I learned a lot, but it was also the kind of book that boils your brain.
All right, I'm back. And oh yes, the Warrens. I forgot all about that. Yes, I actually asked a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, so are Warrens kind of like because the vibe I got, they're kind of like not like dead on, because I think the tones of Malazan and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell are very different, but I kind of got like a Fae vibe from the Warrens. And my friend Tig was like, no, kind of more like Fae realms. I'm like, okay. It's like, that's not really explained till later. And I'm like, okay.
All right, the way I would explain Warrens is they are basically parallel universes where like different rules apply, and you can maybe connect to them and channel some of those different rules and get them to your world. That's kind of how it works.
I thought it was where magic came from, but
Yeah, but that's magic. Magic is basically being able to sort of like connect to like a parallel universe where the rules are slightly different, and use those different rules to affect the world that you are in, basically. But you can also travel to those warrens, as you have already known when Paran and Toppa travel through the Imperial Warren. So you can skip to different warrens, but depending on what kind of warren they are, you don't want to do that, because it turns out like, the Warren of Fire is kind of hot.
Tharnell says, but they have ice powers and to summon demons and arc elves and BDSM sisters. What is he talking about? Or again,
he's talking about he's talking about dark elves in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, Britton, you should be writing all this down. I probably should be honest. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look up, because I see Malazan Reddit exists. So I'm probably going to, I'm sure they have like a deciphering Gardens of the Moon. I'm going to try and read that.
I have never entered our Malazan because it's Reddit, and I'm sure it's going to end in drama and anger and rage and whatnot. So be careful there. But now that you have come back, Britton, to after your drink, I need to go and take a drink because my beer is empty, and it's pretty fucking hot out here as well.
Fair enough. You go get your beer, Ref. I will entertain the masses while you're gone.
Tell them some jokes.
So, guys, what do you think is more likely? Terry Pratchett is going to come back from the dead and write a new Discworld book, or is Neil Gaiman going to do American Gods 2? Like that's what I want to know. Let me down below in the comments, everybody. This is true. That's true. I like I said to Raph earlier, I'm not going to check out any commentary about Gardens of the Moon until I'm done with the book. It's been really hard, That's a good point. Anyway, well, he said try to make some jokes. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. So what was I talking about? Yeah, I'm trying to avoid commentary until I'm done with the book, and then I can go like, okay, here we go. So I've been avoiding like reviews and analysis and stuff like that because I want to encounter the book as its own entity, if you will. It's been hard, but I'm trying. And now of course I've been talking to, Raph and some other friends of mine who like Malzahn to ask them kind of, what's going on, and like, what should I be paying attention to and whatnot, or, me sharing ideas and theories I have, and they're either like, yes, or kind of, but you'll see. We'll see. The less said about the American Gods TV show, the better. I'll just say that. Just say that for right now. Yeah, but like vibes I got from the Warren were kind of like either like the Fey realm from like Strange and Norrell, or like the Dreaming from Sandman, where like this is where all the magic is from, basically. But I could be wrong. They're basically like Excessia Warren, and I'm just like, oh, okay, that happened. Some good humor in there too, like there's like two guards that are like, oh yeah, he's like, oh, there's someone coming, and you're like, you have a good habit of stating the obvious. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Damn it. I'm trying to.
All right, I'm back. Trying to catch up. Yeah, there's like way too much explaining for Malazan on YouTube.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like I was telling you before. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to not watch so many of them. I did watch some like, okay, this is what Malazan's about for dummies, so
Yeah.
you'll be, prepared. So I won't be going in completely blind. But aside from that, I haven't watched it. Like I haven't watched any of like AP and Philip's chat yet. I haven't watched like analysis or anything.
There's and I don't want to toot my own horn, but
I haven't watched any of your videos yet, though. I mean, I probably will once I'm done with Gardens of the Moon.
So the thing is, like, what I did when I did the Malazan videos was I was rereading it, and I was making like a video every day about like the stuff I read that specific chapter, pointing out the interesting bits in that chapter. So it's spoiler free for the past. It's more like a reading along with, yes, having read it before, so I know where stuff is going, but like pointing out like sort of like the connections to philosophy and other stuff at the time, chapter by chapter, basically. So it is spoiler free, but it's a lot because I did that like for all of those fucking books.
Damn, that must have taken a long time.
Yeah, but I spent like basically like an entire year doing nothing but Malazan stuff.
How'd you not get burned out?
They're good books, and I read all of them, Corcanus and, The God Is Not Willing, and the novels of the Malazan Empire, and Path to Ascendancy. Also, it was the pandemic. I didn't have like much to do any.
That's a good point. Yeah, I just got depressed and felt sorry for myself during the pandemic. Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. Like another book I read last week, and I need to talk about like one bit in there. I read Careless People by, is it Sarah Wynne Williams? Like, the Facebook book that, the Facebook book. And it's fine. It's not good. But the one thing that really annoyed me, and like for the first part, I was like, you can't have been so fucking naive that you didn't notice what was going on. And that's sort of like the main topic. And then near the end, she talks about like China, and she's like, yeah, and China was persecuting people like, and she calls them like regime enemies of the regime. like the Uyghurs and Falun Gong. And I'm like, you might want to sort of maybe put some nuance there because, like, Uyghurs are, marginalized ethnic and religious minority, whereas Falun Gong is a religious cult.
I
And go
did.
like, I mean, you're technically right, but like, if that's all of the analysis you bring to that one sentence, and you complain about like how no one is taking New Zealand's diplomats seriously, and your entire history is like working for like the New Zealand embassy for the United Nations, I may have actually found the reason why no one's taking you guys seriously if that is all you can actually come up with. And also, maybe you are actually that naive. I mean, come on. Like, seriously, there's a difference between putting like an ethnic minority into concentration camps and having an issue with like a religious cult that runs the Epoch Times and is like a far-right Christian sect. There's a difference, and you might want to point that out. It still doesn't, make it okay for the Chinese government to persecute Falun Gong members. Don't get me wrong, but those are not the same thing.
I should also note I really like the scene where Whiskey Jack, who we end up figuring out is Whiskey Jack, tells Paran you'll grow out of it, and then like years later, Paran's kind of jaded already.
Yeah.
I like that little detail. That was a good detail. I forgot about that. I'm looking at the Malzahn wiki now, which is probably a terrible idea, but
Ori, I am not ignoring Goats of Glory, and it is one of the best Malazan things because it's got goats.
that sounds really stupid. Is it good? Like, Also, One Arm's pretty cool. I mean, he seems like a cool guy.
Dujek is really cool, yeah.
They call him the High Fist, which makes me think of like a martial arts movie.
No, that's the thing. Like, a fist is like a general, and high fist is like is that general major, whatever. Like, they're just like the rank titles. Like, fist is like the general, and high fist is like the thing above that.
They have donkey magic in the what? Jesus Christ! You have donkey magic. That's wonderful.
No, it's not donkeys. It's mules. There's a difference.
What did they like fart out fireballs or something?
You'll learn about the mules in Deadhouse Gates already.
Hello, Joe. You know what we're talking about? Your favorite series of all time, called Malazan, Book of the Fallen. I'm expressing my bafflement at some of the stuff that's going on because there's a lot of freaking characters. Not like I said, not that hard to follow, but man, there's a lot of characters in this.
And you're only in book 1.
Oh my god. There's 9 more books of this.
But yeah, it's not donkey magic, it's mule magic. And
okay.
The difference is the horsepower, I guess.
Also, I have a little pet conspiracy theory. Those 2 creepy guys who invited Sorry to hang out with them, I think they were involved with the little massacre they were talking about. Just a thought. Might be a stretch. But also,
you might be onto something there. You may learn a lot more about those guys.
Also, I another kind of pet conspiracy theory here. I could be wrong, but I think those 2 creepy guys might have something to do with the title of Toll the Hounds. Just a guess. Just a guess. Unless I'm way off. You mentioned hounds already. I'm like, oh.
They are certainly what you might call dog fanciers.
Yeah, I can tell. Yes.
They usually just like breed them for like the floppiness of the ears and stuff, but sometimes it's just
not
like
important help. Like I think she's just lying at this point. No, I'm kidding. For whom the holes hound. That's actually where I stopped reading. That when I ended part 1 is like one of the hounds attacks Tattersail, and then I guess like Paran comes in and just like fucking he has a big giant sword now. He has a cool sword now. So I'm like, all right, this just
He's got a sword. That is true. And
He has like a new sword. They're like, geez, this is sharp, man. I think they mentioned that.
he also gave it a name, which is kind of part of the problem. Don't name your sword. It usually comes with trouble.
I'm kind of curious to see what that trouble is going to be, but I'm trying to. Yeah, no, it's
Well, I mean, you met the creepy twins.
I've met the creepy twins. Yes, I even texted you, and you're like, "Oh, they're not just creepy; they're gods." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, they're
Oh,
creepy
no.
gods. Yeah, they're creepy gods.
Yeah, no. Another thing I like, kind of going back to what Le Guin was saying about language being important in fantasy. I really like how they say like by Hood instead of like by God or by the gods. Like a
Well,
lot of other things.
Hood is the god of death, as you have probably figured out by now.
Well, Hood. Yeah, I figured that out. At first I thought Hood was kind of like hell or something like that. And I'm like, no, it's probably like a
No.
version of God or something. And then I
No,
end up like finding out it's like
Hood is the Lord of Death.
Isn't it Hood? I thought it was Hood.
Yeah, Hood, like the thing. No, Hood is the Lord of Death because he wears a hood.
Oh, and I'm guessing that was the creepy old lady who was like, "What are you doing?" to the twins. God, the afterlife sounds like a terrible place in Allison, to be honest with you.
The creepy old lady was not Hood.
Oh,
As
was
far
it?
as I remember, and it's been like a couple of years since I last read it, but I think it's just someone who works for the guy.
Yeah, it's like they're described as like Paran, like it's described like when Paran looks, it kind of like morphs. She kind of morphs like old lady, kid, old man, and then they like settle on an old woman. That's a good point, Tharnal. Yes.
Yeah.
The new our world isn't well. It is pretty bad at times, but there's there's good things.
Ida, I think he does sometimes. And that's kind of part of the problem is that like Hood in Malazan is much closer to death in Discworld than anyone claiming to have not read any Discworld when coming up with that stuff could actually explain.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought Karam was black. It's Quick Ben. Quick Ben's black. Are they both black?
Most of them are in fact not white, which is one of those interesting things.
Okay.
So Quick Ben is very much black.
Is like, Callum black? I thought Callum was black for some reason.
Callum is also very much dark skinned.
Oh, okay.
The exact shades are kind of up for interpretation. When it comes to Paran, we don't ever get like a full explanation, but since he is from Unta, which is part of the continent that has all the black people living on it. Like
he wears a hood in his hood. I like this.
The one person we know is definitely white and has like is a ginger is Fiddler.
Wait a minute, I thought Whiskey Jack was white, or is he just tan?
Well, he's got like gray hair. I know that. The rest, maybe, I don't know. Well, Fiddler is
Yeah, Fiddler's cool. He seems like an interesting guy. I don't know.
Fiddler is very sort of like ginger Irish sort of kind of thing.
Paran. Ganos
Paran.
Paran. I don't fucking know. I don't freaking know.
Well, yeah. Hood is just a pissed off dude with big teeth. That is true. And he's got a right to be pissed off. Just to be clear, like he's justified in being pissed off.
So okay, let's see. The Ascendants. Oh yeah, they also keep talking about this guy called Kaladin Brood, who's basically like this like mythical character.
Kaladin Brood hangs out with Anamander Rake, and he's big.
Yeah, like I was about to say, like he's a big deal. Like everyone's like, "Oh my god, I heard that guy was dead." You know, it's kind of that whole thing.
No, like
I get the vibe that
some
he's
people
basically
never
like, if
die.
you unleash that guy, he's gonna murder everybody.
Mm, yes and no. So this will become clearer, but I don't think it's like a big spoiler. So Caladan Brood is the warlord, right?
Yeah,
And
I've
he's
heard this. Yeah.
yeah. So Caladan Brood is a big deal. But the main thing about Caladan Brood is that he has Byrne's hammer.
Huh. Okay.
So he's got a hammer. And that hammer can wake up Byrne, who is sort of like the goddess of the earth,
Mm.
which, think of him
Yeah,
like he's the guy who's got the red button.
yeah, he keeps. I always get the vibe from. I always get the vibe that like Malazan is like this. It's almost like a nuclear warhead went off. You know, like it's all
Yeah.
gray and it's ashes everywhere and everything
But
looks shitty.
that's only in the Imperial Warren.
So only in this part of the book, does it look better in other places? Like when I hear like Durajan, I always think, or whatever the hell it's called for this next part I'm going to be reading.
The
It kind of
Rujistan.
sounds like an Islamic, not Islamic, Arabic is a better word.
Yeah, that's because it has Stan in the name.
Well, yeah.
Now it's so yeah, to bring this together, Caladan Brood has Byrne's hammer, which is basically like nuclear power, and that's why everyone is sort of like afraid of him like actually losing his shit, because if he actually uses the hammer, he can wake up the goddess of the earth, which is the earth itself. So, like shake continents, that kind of level of power. And he has that
Also,
hammer.
and this might not be a hot take, but the gods kind of seem dickish in this world.
Well, I mean, if you are in a world where like everyone could potentially become a god if they amass enough power and then have enough people worship them and go like, yeah, I want to be a god. You do that long enough, you kind of, what do you expect? What kind of people will end up being gods, right? I mean,
Not
what I mean?
very nice people from the sense.
It's probably not going to be like incredibly balanced,
So
relaxed people.
Joe Byrne is the goddess of the earth. Apparently, that's what we figured out today from this conversation. Yeah, no, it's weird. It's weird how this is working so far, but yeah. This is a huge and unwanted responsibility. We were just kidding, Joe. You're not a god. You can just go back to just imagine that's what she's doing in her spare time. She's just writing like superhero books because she's just bored. Or she just like so the Earth Goddess kind of sounds like Cthulhu from what you're saying here. Because she's asleep and all that.
Less tentacles.
Less tentacles. I don't think anything can be as tentacly as Cthulhu.
You'll learn more about Byrne in book 3. Yes, in book 3.
Damn.
So here's an interesting thing that needs to sort of be explained. It may help you understand like the progress of the series. Erickson wrote book 1, and then he wrote book 3, which was supposed to be book 2, and then his laptop got stolen.
Yeah, I've heard
with
the story.
With the draft of book 3. So he finished book 2, which is Deadhouse Gates, first, and then rewrote Memories of Ice, which is why you sort of like have a pretty rough switch between book 1 and book 2, between Gardens of the Moon and Deadhouse Gates. And there's some continuity, don't get me wrong, but like Deadhouse Gates and Memories of Ice take place at the same time. So you could technically read either one first. I think it makes sense to read Deadhouse Gates first, but that's sort of like why there's this like weird sort of like jumping around thing at that time, is because of that sort of like historic sort of like impact on like the writing process.
Oh man. Yeah, you know, kind of on the subject of the Odyssey and this kind of weird sequitur we're going into. Yesterday, I saw the movie Superman, which was pretty good. Actually, it was a good movie.
I've heard good things about it. I have not had time to watch it yet because on Friday I went to see Iron Maiden and then I spent the night in Düsseldorf getting kicked out of pubs, hanging out in the wrong trains, having to pay fines for being in the wrong train, that kind of stuff. Not sleeping until I came back on like yesterday morning at like 10 a.m. and
Anyway, I saw a teaser for the new Odyssey movie that Christopher Nolan's going to be making, and it
Okay.
looks like it could be good. It was a good teaser.
So here's the thing, like the Odyssey is, and
I think it would be easier to adapt than the Iliad.
Adorno and Horkheimer is going to back me up on this one, which is probably not what I should say, but like the Odyssey is probably like the first like really modern story in a lot of ways. Like the way it is structured and the way it focuses on Ulysses, whatever you want to call him, as an active character, main character, having agency and so forth. The way it is structured around that is like much more accessible than, say, the Iliad in a lot of ways. I mean, technically, I would say like Gilgamesh is also like the Epic of Gilgamesh is also fairly accessible, but it has all these like weird bits of just like Sumerian like worldviews being like so different from like the Greek stuff that has had like a much bigger impact on like Western European whatever kind of world understanding and so forth. Like the Odyssey is just like really easy to adapt because it's just like an adventure story. It's like this guy wants to get home. It's like walking tall but with ships.
Yeah, no, I think anything would be better than the Armand Asante Odyssey miniseries from like the 90s. That, oh my god, that's not good. It's not good. That's all I'll say. And there's a lot of hammy acting in that miniseries. It's fun, but it's kind of like, oh man, like. But yeah, Christopher Nolan's gonna do it. I'm like, all right, that's an interesting take, I guess. That's an interesting direction to go after making Oppenheimer. But all right, yeah, let's see where it goes.
I think like the danger with like stuff like that is that it's so easy to do like an Odyssey movie by just like having like really cool looking special effects and actually getting like some cool looking, costumes and shit together, and you have like it's easy to make an Odyssey movie that is sort of surface level true to the source, and everyone will go like, wow, this is awesome because it looks good because you have the right special effects, and then you kind of miss all sort of like the underlying points of like what the Odyssey is sort of like trying to say and do. And that's sort of like where I feel like I guess something like Oh Brother Where Art Thou is much better than whatever Christopher Nolan's going to come up with, because
I forgot about Oh Brother Where Art Thou. That's a good adaptation of the Odyssey.
Yeah, because it does actually like look at like what's the story actually trying to do, and having dudes in cool looking armor sail around the Mediterranean is of course awesome.
Have these three country bumpkins running around. It's
And I may have in fact met some people working on that movie recently.
It's a good one. It's not one of my favorite Coen brother films, but it's a fun one. I enjoyed that one. It's like a hick Odyssey.
No, I was saying like I may have met some people working on the new Christopher Nolan one.
Oh, interesting.
So when I was traveling to Athens for the Up the Hammers in March, and I was hanging out at the airport waiting for some friends coming from like a different flight, and I was meeting a bunch of people, hanging out with a bunch of people at the one bar at the airport waiting for, and they were trained sailors, and they were there to go on like a movie shoot, and they couldn't say anything about it, but because they are reenactment sailors that can do like road drag cars for like Viking stuff, and
you put it together.
you know, the kind of people that know how, like some of them were actually worked on Master and Commander on the movie as well, because, you know, turns out being like a reenactment sailor that actually knows how to run like boats is a very specific skill. And while you may have like your big actors, you still need like a bunch of people to actually do like the boat shit for that stuff. And they were like, yeah, we're working on this thing and we're going to sail through the Mediterranean, and we can't talk about it. And that may have just been that specific thing, unless there's like another sort of like,
Nah, that's too specific.
old timey Mediterranean sailing movie being that got shot like earlier this year.
Yeah.
In case that was the case, in case they were like actually part of that, they paid for some beers for me, so I'm happy with that, and I'm gonna praise the movie for that. Some people on that movie were like nice people and paid me beers.
Gave me a beer. Yeah, you know, I was at a radio station I've been working at last couple months, and last month I should say. We haven't gotten to months yet, and I'm like, a lot of my people, my generation, we don't really drink that much. Maybe it's different in Germany, but in America we don't really drink as much as we used to.
I feel
Maybe
like
it's the people I hang out with. I don't know.
drinking culture in Germany is a very specific kind of thing, because like just like beer is so deeply ingrained in our culture. Like,
Yeah, I was about to say, you guys kind of invented beer, right? Like, you guys kind of were the innovators of beer.
nah, not really. Like no, like to be fair, like beer is something that like a lot of people kind of came up with in all kinds of places. What you have is you have the lager yeast, which is like a different style of yeast to make it sort of like, you know, last longer, and that's something that was, I think, mostly came from Bohemia, which is now Czech Republic. The famous German purity law, like Reinheitsgebot, is just like a marketing ploy, but it is sort of like part of the culture. And what you have is the fact that while other stuff like other alcohol has like an alcohol tax in Germany, beer is taxed like staples. So you have like a reduced tax on, you know, bread and other foodstuffs, and beer is categorized as one of those staples. So beer is super cheap. So you have a lot of beer, and legal drinking age for beer is 16 in Germany. Like strong alcohol is 18, but beer is 16. So it is very deeply ingrained. You have like a lot of people just like work your regular jobs, and they go like on like lunch break and they have like a beer, and then they go back to their job, and that may be working in a bank, that may be working on a construction site, and maybe working heavy fucking machinery, but like people go for like a
Doesn't sound like a great idea to go to the pub when you're working with heavy machinery.
but it is it is very much like sort of ingrained, like.
But if it's like one beer, then okay, maybe you'll be.
Yeah, but that's the point. Like they don't get hammered, but like
That's good.
That was
I didn't think so, but you never know.
That's what I was trying to say. Like German drinking culture is like a very casual drinking culture. Like it's not the like we get hammered and then we go to the club and we dance or whatever, right? That's not German drinking culture. It's more like, yeah, it's like noon and it's warm. I'm gonna have like a beer, and then I go back to work, and then it's like 6 p.m. and I'm gonna have like another couple of beers, and it's a very casual sort of like drinking culture, because it is mostly focused on beer and maybe some wine, but it's like the sort of like mid-level alcohol things where you can drink more like volume versus
Helena.
like, you know, intensity in a lot of ways. And I think that's sort of like where that specific like German like drinking culture kind of comes from.
Yeah, no, we don't really do that in America. Though back then, man, oh man, we drank like hell. Even had a law where it's like, yeah, we're not gonna have alcohol anymore. And then we realized that was a terrible idea, so we reversed it. Because America, I love her, but she's a weird place sometimes. Strange place.
Yeah, Ori, you're right. Beer is a human right in Germany. Other human rights, not so much. Yeah, free speech is one of those that is difficult right now.
I heard you can't really watch stuff about Hitler in Germany. Is that true? On like YouTube?
Yes and no. So there is a law. The German term is Volksverhetzung, which means I'm trying to translate that into official English, but it means like leading astray the public, basically. And that stuff is illegal, which means, Holocaust denial gets you into jail. Throwing a Hitler salute gets you into jail. Wearing
I'll say, so does that mean like if someone like was in the middle of the street and went like, you know what, Hitler, he had some good ideas, you would go to jail?
It really depends on what you say, but like denying or relativizing the Holocaust will get you into jail.
Oh, okay.
And people have gone to jail for that. Like, it's not just like a thing in the law that like has no teeth. No, people go to jail for that.
So like if a Nazi threw like, so if like a neo-Nazi threw like a salute, that would throw him in jail.
If there are cops around that actually take the job seriously, or if everyone knows who the guy is and there's documentation, then yes, that will get you into jail. Like Elon Musk probably should not do his from my heart to yours kind of thing in Germany, because that would certainly lead to trouble.
What if you salute outside of Germany and then enter Germany?
No, that is not like that's not the prerogative of German law, is my point. Like,
that's fine.
Like you do that in Germany, you have a massive problem. You wear a swastika somewhere in Germany, you get into massive trouble. You wear like, I don't know how many people know that, but Kiss, the band, has a different logo in Germany than in the US, because like the original Kiss logo has like the more like lightning like double S that looks very much like the SS.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh
And
man.
Because you can't show.
Ironic because
either
one or several of them are Jewish, right?
No, but and that's that's kind of the point. But because in Germany you're not allowed to wear any symbols of the Nazi era. That means like the SS skull is illegal, swastika is illegal, and it means those lightning S's are illegal, which is why Kiss in Germany has a slightly different logo, with the S being less lightning styled.
Yeah, though, and though when you're in America, though, you can basically just go like, you know what, Hitler kind of based, and not get in trouble for it. Which I hate to say, I don't. They'll probably just think you're an asshole and an idiot. But like in I've heard like in other countries, like you could literally go to jail for that. I'm just like, I don't know how to feel about that, because on the one hand, I'm like, I'm pretty pro freedom of speech, but on the other hand, like, come on, man, you can do better than that.
Yeah, Ori, Ace of Base is one of those like really interesting questions. I think it's once again the same things. Like, if they make any of the statements within Germany, then you have a different thing. But I don't think they've like done like live gigs or anything of the sort. So I guess they're sort of kind of fine, because the lyrics don't have any of that stuff. That's like the other part. Like, if you have like any of that stuff in your lyrics, your songs may get banned in Germany. There's a long list of stuff. Like, Germany has like two censorship lists basically for media. One is stuff that is sort of banned from being advertised, which is the kind of stuff where it's like, yeah, you can buy this, but you cannot display it in your store or anything of the sort. You need to ask for it. It's like stuff that you can sell under the counter, but it's still legal. And then there's like
To be honest, that wasn't a terrible idea because the Confederate flag is like not like it's again, America's a weird place. Like there was a whole like 50 years where we were lionizing people who technically were traitors against the United States of America, even though they initially served with the United States Army. I get that. But it's like, what the fuck? But yeah, that's why denazification was a good idea. And I kind of wish that Lincoln had done something similar with the American.
I wish it would have gone further in Germany as well. But like, so here's the thing, like, and then you have like the second list of stuff that is like absolutely banned. You sell that stuff, you go to prison or you pay like a really high fine. And that's mostly Nazi stuff, like really hardcore, because it kind of once again goes into like Holocaust denial and calling for genocide and that kind of stuff. That's a crime in Germany. So,
well, I mean, I probably shouldn't call for genocide anywhere, but yeah.
I'm just saying, like on the German laws, calling for genocide is something that actually has like legal consequences. Like, and there's like a number of this. It's kind of vague, and it also obviously kind of depends on like the judge you're in front of, because they can interpret it. And yeah, I mean, I own some records that have been on the don't sell this publicly list. I own some of those records because that obviously goes for like leftist like punk rock stuff as well.
So like if someone, just for instance, if someone like went out in the street and yelled like "fuck the Nazis," would that put you in jail, or would that or would that just be like, okay, yeah, whatever?
No, that stuff is totally fine.
Okay.
Doing a Hitler salute definitely puts you into jail unless you can find a way to actually portray this as art. Then it kind of gets difficult.
I was like, I was just doing the cross that Catholics do.
No. So there was like this major thing where like a German like artist was producing garden gnomes that did the Hitler salute.
Ida wonders, have you ever been to jail, Raph? Which I
have not been to jail. No.
Oh, you've not been to. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. Considering how much you've like protested and stuff. Haven't been any cops and like, hey, you look suspicious. Go to jail. Or something like that.
No, I have not been to jail, but so here's the deal, right? Like on the one hand, I look very, very German, which helps because like German cops are racist. On the other hand, I have a disability, and that also makes cops be somewhat, cautious because, yes, American cops have no problem with like dragging like people off their wheelchairs and when they're protesting, but German cops are somewhat careful about not doing that.
Do they? I'm not heard.
It kind of depends on where you are. Like if you're like in like the middle of like a full on like street battle or whatever. But like I try to not be there because.
Really, I've not heard of this. I might have to look this up after the stream. I've not heard of it. Said Ori says in the U.S. they put you in jail for carrying a cane. I'm like, I've not heard of this. I'm not saying it isn't true. I'm just saying that wow, that's crazy. America's a strange place. I'm sure most countries are weird. I mean, I could probably go to Germany and find some weird shit about it. Or if I'd go to Canada, I'm sure there's some weird shit about Canada. But like, man, America, fucking weird place.
Ida, the getting kicked out of pubs thing was complex. It may have been because my friend I was with was like fell asleep, and it's the kind of bar that was like, yeah, if you fall asleep on the table, we're just gonna kick you out because we have like a high throughput kind of thing. But there was also the thing that someone else was in that bar that he had like a beef with before, and that other person is I'm trying to make this as neutral as possible because I don't want to dox anyone but like so the other person that he had like beef with before is part of like a one of the more famous German punk rock bands, and like a big deal in that specific city. So who knows? Maybe it was just like because he just like fell asleep on the table while I was still like, awake and drinking, or it was because the other guy was like, "Hey, get that shit out, get that dude out of here because I hate him after all the things he said to me, and we're not going to talk about this." And because he is,
Banned
one
from
of Germany's most
Oh.
famous punk rock musicians, people do that.
Jeez, man. Wow. By the way, this is real. A guy named James Hodges got arrested because they thought a walking stick was a gun. That is insane. This happened in 2022. It's crazy, bro. Never heard of this in my life. This was like 3 or 4 years ago. 3 years ago almost. That is insane. Not heard of this. I'm not going to watch the whole video here. I'll watch it after we're done here. But like, wow, that is crazy. Never heard of this. Police system in America is deeply flawed. That's all I'll say about that. For right now. It's kind of funny. I was talking with Philip Chase on Dear Dr. Fantasy this few months ago. And I was, we were talking about the book Kindred by Octavia Butler, which is a great book, by the way. Highly recommend everyone should go read it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of like how things haven't really changed all that much because there's not really a system where like keeping black people down. And he's like, well, there kind of is. I'm like, yeah, okay, you know what? Fine, I'll give you that. Yes, there still is, but it's not like slavery anymore. So I don't know, but it reminds me of that.
But that's kind of the point, right? Like systems of oppression don't go away just because we say so.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we get better, but they also evolve as well. That's what I've noticed anyway. I wish the police were like the Discworld police. They'd be fun to hang out with at least.
Yeah, that's true.
We need more Sam Vimes in the world. I was talking with Derry last week, and I'm like, Sam Vimes might become one of my favorite fantasy characters in a while. We'll see how it goes. But I just really like his character a lot.
I feel like Sam Vimes works really well because he's probably as close a stand-in for Terry Pratchett himself as you can get in Discworld. But you can see he's like a flawed character, and you can like what makes like Sam Vimes so interesting when you read like throughout the Watch series. You see
they
how
won't do that. Serendipity helped with the dragon problem the last time they faced dragons. So yeah, I'll give you that.
But like what makes Vimes so interesting is that Sam Vimes is wrestling like sort of like with this whole like thing. It's like you are sort of an authority, you are in power, and you still have to sort of like and figuring this shit out and wrestling with his own like racism and other like sort of like prejudices that he has, and
Christian's got him by the balls basically. At least in guards that would have felt like just
oh no, that stuff's changing. Like, and that's what makes like Discworld so interesting is that like Discworld is changing a lot throughout like the books. Like Men at Arms is already very different from God's Guards, and
yeah, I read
Feet
on
of
the
Clay
back.
is another level.
I read on the back of my copy, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is basically his kind of take on the hard-boiled crime novel." I'm like, "Oh yes, please give me that. I want that as soon as possible." Darnell asks, "Hey Raph, what is the Watch? I think he meant to say, what if the Watch were to join the Bridge Burners from Malazan?" Sounds like ineptitude would ensue, but that could be just me.
Yeah, that's kind of the, I guess, I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Like the Bridge Burners are like funny in some interesting ways, but they're all like highly competent and
I think
I feel
Whiskey
like-
Jack and Vimes would get along.
Oh yeah, like morally, there's like a lot of like parallels, but I think like the difference is that so both like the Watch and the Black Company up to a point at least, and especially the Bridge Burners, like they are like somehow morally driven forces. And yes, Black Company is all about claiming that they have like no moral backbone or whatsoever. But like if you read, the books, and you like Croker does. My point is they are incredibly competent, and that's sort of like they come to that same sort of like issue from like two different sides, right? Like the Bridge Burners is like, what if you are like incredibly competent and could be the most immoral like actors and actually do pull off all the shit because you are this fucking competent and this because you are the special forces basically. Whereas on the other side you have like the Watch, the Discworld Watch is like, we know what we want to be, but we're all falling over our own dicks on the way to get there, basically.
Yeah, I was about to say there might be a bunch
they're
of
coming at the
ineptitude
same-
if they joined the Bridge Burners.
They're coming at the same sort of like ideal from like both sides. One is like, we want to be like this, but most of the time we kind of fuck up. And the other side is like, we need to sort of like make sure that we don't stray too much from that sort of like what we should be kind of thing, because we are this powerful, which I guess is sort of like the difference between like the police and the military, because like, yeah, one side has the nukes, the other side doesn't. And that does make a difference. I feel like Fiddler is smaller than Carrot, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wish there were more Carrots in the world, but then again, I don't know if I want more cops like Carrot, because Carrot will just arrest you for littering.
Yeah, what if the king was in fact actually a really good guy? Wouldn't that be scary?
I mean, it sounds nice on paper.
Yeah, matured maybe. Like Fiddler is sort of like being the good guy, but also having lived for like, I don't know, 70 years of war and going like, yeah, I still want to be the good guy, but fuck, shit
Oh
sucks.
yeah, they also going back to Malazan, they kind of just name drop the Tattersail's like 200 years old, and they're just like, yeah, that's it.
The timeline, especially in Garden of the Moon, is a bit wonky.
Yeah, it was another kind of thing I had. I'm like, God, they've already jumped a decade, and we've only been here for like, it's only been like
The thing is,
100 something pages.
they're using magic that keeps them young, sort of, but it's also
Is it like Lord of the Rings where the aging is just slower?
well, the people that are part of like the Imperial Core, basically, they have access to like the high Daniel being the healing magic, high Daniel magic, so they can sort of like slow their aging. So the cool kids get to be young forever.
Oh man, what's the head honcho wizard's name again? I forgot how to spell it. Hold on.
Teishren. I have no idea how to spell that, but the big mage is Teishren.
I like Tattersail. She could be an interesting character. It hasn't really been a lot yet to like grasp onto just yet, at least for me anyway. But I'm sure we'll get there. It's a good setup.
No, Tattersail is cool. The fat lady with the spells wants to talk.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm like, what the fuck?
But that's the thing, is like, yeah, so what? She's big. And she's a very powerful mage. You gotta fuck with her. I mean, if you're Paran, yes, but
Oh, cool.
No,
The
no.
same artist who did the Game of Thrones illustrations did some for Malazan too.
Which one?
Nice. Guy called Dijon Delic.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, is she fat? I kind of thought of her as like, you know. I didn't think she was fat. Whatever.
She sends that message when she wants to like parley with the bridge burners. He goes like, "Tell the others the fat lady with the spells wants to talk." So no one knows like her body shape, but she thinks of herself as
Yeah, her
big.
like lover himbo guy got killed, and she's kind of like, oh man, shit, you know. I'm just like, okay, cool.
No, that like Carousel is cool. But in general, like one of the things that is important about Malazan is like sort of like paying attention to like the small sort of like hints when he explains how someone looks, because that you know that we already said that like that very Western baseline assumption that everyone looks like very Caucasian, that is wrong. Most of the people are very much not white in this series. Fiddler stands out because as a Falari, he is in fact like white, very pale, and has red hair. But most of the other people are at least somewhat darker of skin.
Yeah, her boyfriend / himbo guy got killed. That was
Which one?
Which one? Oh, the first one we meet. His name's like Calor or something. Callan, I think.
Ah, yeah.
He got blown up during the Animander Rake fight.
What I find so interesting about that first chapter, which I think is really important to understand, like how Malazan stuff works, and there's that like understand like Malazan Erickson is a fan of the elliptical chapter, like, and the elliptical book, like stuff starts somewhere and sort of like curls back on that, and you see that in that first chapter when it kind of starts with like the whole like battlefield, and then you jump back and you kind of go to like how you end up
back
there,
real
and
quick.
you curl that around. That is very important for like most of his like, it's like one of the key things for his like narrative style is that this elliptical sort of like form of explaining of telling you stories. So you start a chapter and you're gonna get like backfilled on like stuff that happened before, and then you jump to the end of sort of like the like chronological thing, and then you come back to the point where the whole like chapter basically starts narratively. And I think that's one of the things you kind of need to accept, at least as like one of his like signature sort of like approaches to writing.
All right, I'm back. I go to the bathroom real quick. Yeah, but like claws, so they're like assassins, yeah.
Yes, they're the CIA.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I kind of gathered they were basically like assassins / like spies or something like that.
No, they're like the secret police, or one of the secret polices that they have. So yeah, they're the CIA, basically.
That's not good.
Well, you mean like overthrowing democracies because they are too left-leaning is bad? You mean like killing people and then going like, no, clearly this was the communists is bad? In a Malazan context, which is still what they do, you know.
Yeah, but one of them's the Empress now. Her name's Lysine.
Lysine, yes.
I haven't met her yet. Well, actually, yes, we did. I think we did meet her in the beginning.
Yes.
But she's, not a big part in this so far.
Yeah, you meet her in the prologue when she was still called Surly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she's the Empress now. And rightly so. And yeah, this might be slightly spoiled, but like if you read Path to Ascendancy, you understand like gods. Surly had like every fucking right to.
I've heard dragons also show up. I heard Tutor Ramble talk about
Oh, there's dragons.
I heard there are dragons in this.
Oh yeah. There's dragons in the series. A lot of them.
Oh, Khaled. Khaled is the guy's name.
Khaled, yeah, Khaled.
I knew it had CA in there. It was.
And it's important. It's Khaled. It's not Kalor, because Kalor is a very different character. Although you're writing with K, I think. Unless I'm not...
Sorry is in there, and she's freaking scary. She's just like a cold-blooded murderer. I'm like, God damn, dude.
Sully is the one person that's actually competent when it comes to like logistics and stuff.
Like, look, I'm not saying like these soldiers aren't like I'm not saying like the soldiers are innocent, but like they're all creeped out by her. So like she's up to some like fucking pure evil type shit. Unless she's actually misunderstood, you know. The hashtag it, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, did nothing wrong.
It's complicated.
What in life isn't, Raph? That's the real question.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. Well, and to be fair, there are like, as I said, like there are like 2 or 3 points within the Malazan Book of the Fallen where Erickson takes some very clear stances of like, you know, gray areas until here.
Oh,
and
is that who they talk about when they're talking about Fellison? Interesting. She's a Perrin's sister. That's interesting.
Felicin is one of Perrin's sisters.
Kellanved. Yeah, I'm looking through the Malazan wiki, the Dramatis Personae. Just kind of looking at that right now. So
don't look too deep, but like yes,
I'm trying not to. I don't want to spoil myself, but you know, it's just kind of.
And like you meet Felicin and you meet Tavor, like both of his sisters at the beginning, like when he's home before he moves away. Like he goes like to his home and he talks to his like sisters like for a moment, and so you meet both of them. They will become important.
Okay, later. So Tattersall, she's kind of thick. Okay, I see. You know, 2 C's, ladies and gentlemen. So she's not like fat.
Like, I don't know. It's just literally a quote she says when she wants to sort of like connect to the bridge burners to like do like intrigue stuff. She's like, she sends that one guy over and is like, tell them the fat lady with the spells wants to talk.
Well, yeah.
That's a self-description.
So she's kind of double crossing. She's like double, triple crossing everybody at the moment. It's really.
There's lots of crosses going on.
There's a lot of crossing going on.
Oh yeah.
There's like triple crossing and quadruple cross. No, I'm kidding. I don't.
Yeah. Shaman's Crossing is nothing compared to this.
Oh my god. It's like quadruple.
That's certainly some crucifying is going on, maybe, possibly.
Oh, geez. It's not good.
Especially for dragons, but yeah.
It's never good.
Huh. Nothing wrong with like a good, proper crucifixion.
I was about to say, well, you know, there's they say it's a very cruel way to go. What the Romans did to Jesus. They just hung him up on there. Let him suffocate to death.
I feel like most, if not all, executions are kind of cruel ways to go.
So, like, you don't think the guillotine versus the crucifixion, do you think there's much difference there?
Of course there's like differences in there, but like it's like graduate, you know, it's like we're still talking about executions, and at the end of the day, does it really matter that much at that point? Because like I feel like most of like the suffering is sort of like knowing in advance that you're gonna go,
Mm-hmm.
and you have no control over it. But I wouldn't know.
Well, I've never been executed, so I can't comment on that.
Well, they crucified like all of like no, not all of them, like parts of like Spartacus's like rebellion, like the entire fucking Appian way. Yeah, crucifixion is like definitely one of the like rougher ones. But yeah, I'm looking at the time and it's past midnight and stuff. I should probably slowly leave.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm probably gonna slow things down myself. Probably
Right?
get going.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah, read some good books.
Read some good books, yeah.
What else can I
Trying.
say? And remember, on Tuesday, The Bewitching by Siria Moreno Garcia, and it's got witches in it, and dark academia and horror novels and stuff. It's gonna be cool, I hope. Anyway, Britton. You want to end this, or you're gonna kick me out, or I'm gonna find out how to leave myself.
I don't want to kick you. That's a rude thing to do your friends, you know.
That's true.
But
Let me find out how to leave this. Oh no, I could just. Okay, apparently, as a guest, I can either close the browser window, or you're gonna kick me. There's no like I want to leave.
Really?
Which is interesting. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna leave now. Anyway, Britton, it was fun.
As always, Raph, yes. And thank you for filling me in on the Malazan stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be reading it some more in the next couple weeks.
I suspect so. You'll be surprised by how much weird shit is gonna happen in the next couple of books.
Oh boy.
Of this volume is what I'm saying.
Oh my god.
You'll get some dragons, you get some demons, you get some magic, you get some pastries. Yeah, you'll get some pastries.
That's always good.
All right, so I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna see you guys around somewhere, and yeah, have a great
Take care,
night,
Raph.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, I'm probably gonna wind down myself. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm probably going to get some reading done myself in a little bit. So yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me for a little while. I'm probably just gonna get going. So yeah, tomorrow is gonna be Britton's Hangout Hour. Gonna be doing that. I got Richard and Austin from Two to Ramble On, so that's gonna be fun. Keep your eyes out for that. And thank you all for the well wishes. Good night, everyone. If it's night outside, it's only like, well, it's not too late out where I'm at. It's late afternoon, I should say. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And well, until next time.